A group of heroes are summoned from another world, and they are greeted by a princess. They have their powers appraised, and they are all gifted with unique skills, like the holy sword technique, and the ability to use all kinds of magic. We then meet Mukata, and when he gets appraised, he has a strange online grocery skill. Mukata is shocked hearing this, thinking his skill is useless, and wonders if he has anything else, but gets told that it's his only unique skill, so he's devastated, and wonders why all the others got such overpowered skills. Despite this, he gets told that he will still need to have an audience with the king. The heroes meet with the king, and he explains that their kingdom has been getting attacked by the Demon King. He asks for their help, and the three heroes quickly offer their assistance. Mukata, on the other hand, decides he isn't cut out for being a hero, thinking he would only get in the way, and says he just wants to have a simple life. He ends up getting out, and they even send him off with 20 gold coins. In the town, he starts attracting people's attention with his strange attire, so he quickly buys a change of clothes. He goes around, trying to learn about this world, and ends up getting a room at the inn. He is relieved he decided not to be a hero, finding the king suspicious with how luxurious they seemed, and decides he should leave the kingdom as soon as he can. Mukata checks out his stats, and sees he has an item storage skill and an appraisal skill. He tries calling out for his online grocery skill, but nothing happens. He wonders how his skill works, and he ends up tapping on it, which brings up a page for his online shop. Mukata tries using it, ordering some water and some food. He tries to check out, but it asks for money, and he finds he can deposit his coins into the screen. After confirming his order, a package instantly appears, containing his items, and Mukata is happy that his skill is actually useful. He ends up learning that a gold coin is worth about $100, and the 20 gold he was given would be enough for a family to live for 3 months. The next day, Mukata finds a ride to get out of the kingdom. Along the way, he meets a merchant, and after talking with him, he finds out his item storage skill is actually super rare, with only 1 in 1,000 people having access to the skill. Hearing this, Mukata goes on to ask about the appraisal skill, and the man reveals that it's even rarer, because only heroes summoned from another world can possess the skill. Mukata gets nervous hearing this, and tries not to be suspicious. The man asks him where he is headed, and Mukata tells him he's trying to get to the next kingdom. The man tells him that getting out is a smart decision, because the kingdom is headed for destruction, and there are rumors that the borders are about to close. Mukata is shocked to hear this, and in the end, their carriage ends up getting suspended. At the local tavern, Mukata learns that the carriage services were stopped so people can't run away to the neighboring countries. Because if people run away, the kingdom's army would decrease in size. So the men suggest that they should get out while they still can. Mukata wonders how to get out, worrying about the monsters he might encounter. He ends up heading to the Adventurers Guild, and puts in a request for an escort to get out of the kingdom. The clerk tells him that since he is on foot, it would take a number of days, so the cost would be 8 gold. Mukata is alarmed at the price, but seeing he has no other options, he agrees to the price. The clerk calls over an adventurer, and we meet Werner, a C-ranked adventurer. They negotiate the mission, and Mukata offers to provide them with food during their journey, and they come to an agreement. They prepare to set off the next day, and Werner introduces the rest of his party. There's Vincent the swordsman, Rita the scout, Ramon the mage, and Fanka the healer. They head on their way, and soon stop for a break. Mukata goes to prepare some food, pulling a stove out of his storage. Vincent is surprised to see the storage skill, and Rita is impressed at his magic stove. We see in a flashback, at a store, the shopkeeper tries to sell him a magic stove for 50 gold, but instead, he was able to find a cheap portable stove from his online shop. He ends up making some soup and sandwiches, and when the party tries it, they are amazed. Ramon finds the soup to be delicious, but it was actually just some instant soup. They find the bread is super soft, calling it the best bread they have ever tasted, and are glad they took this mission. The group continues on their way, but get attacked by some monsters. Werner and Vincent are able to swiftly take them out, but Mukata is startled at the scene. As they get healed up, Rita reports that there is a red boar ahead. They discuss how to deal with it, but it suddenly appears, and Mukata is shocked at its size. Werner tells him to get cover, and they proceed to battle against the boar. The boar is defeated, and Mokata is impressed at their strength. They end up skinning the boar for its skin and horns, but there is too much meat for them to carry, so Mokata suggests putting the meat in his storage. They decide to stop for dinner, and the group is looking forward to eating his food. They crowd around him to watch, but Mokata gets worried, saying he gets embarrassed, but in reality, he doesn't want to reveal his special skill. He gets to cooking, combining bacon, cabbage, potatoes, and even adding sausages to create a delicious stew. He hands out the bowls to everyone, and as they eat, Mokata wonders if it's not to their taste, but they are soon stuffing themselves, and they all ask for seconds. Mokata is surprised they like it that much, and Ramon reveals that they normally eat jerky and hard breads when they are traveling, and Rita even feels her body in better shape thanks to the meal. Mokata finds this a bit strange, and decides to use his appraisal skill. He is shocked to see Rita has boosted stats, and when he appraises the food, he sees that it grants a buff. Mokata starts to get worried, thinking if someone were to find out, he could be in danger, so he is determined to keep it a secret. But there is a beast that watches them from the bushes. The party continues on their journey, a few days away from the next kingdom. They set up camp in a forest, and Mokata decides to cook some of the boar meat for their dinner. He starts preparing the meat, slicing it up into pieces, and he uses a special sauce from his shop to flavor it. As he starts cooking it, the others are amazed at the smell, and it even attracts the attention of the beast. When Mokata is finished, the others stare in awe. As they try it, they are immediately blown away, having never tasted something like this before. They all praise Mokata, but he just thanks his secret sauce. As Mokata discusses his cooking method, their faces suddenly turn to fear, and the beast has emerged from behind him. They are shocked to see a Fenrir, and it speaks to them, demanding to have some of the meat. Mokata quickly gives it a plate, and it eats it with a single bite. It demands for more, and Mokata asks it to wait while he makes more. He has a huge plate, but the beast devours it and demands even more. Mokata keeps cooking, while the beast keeps eating and demanding for more. After cooking again and again, the beast is eventually satisfied. The beast is impressed Mokata managed to satisfy him and decides to form a familiar contract with him. Mokata thinks it's a bad idea and tries to refuse, but the beast gives him an intense stare, and he just can't refuse. His friends encourage him, and he reluctantly agrees. The beast's head starts to glow, and the two form the contract. With this, the beast tells Mokata that he is now responsible for taking care of him, expecting 3 meals a day, and Mokata is left shocked at what he has gotten himself into. As part of the contract, the beast tells him to give him a name. Mokata tries to think, coming up with common dog names, but the beast is not impressed. Seeing it is a Fenrir, Mokata suggests Fel, and the beast agrees. As the party continues on, the people avoid them, and Werner worries that they won't be able to get past the border. Rita explains that there is a legend where a Fenrir destroyed a whole country, and Franca says it definitely happened. Mokata starts to worry, but Fel tells him he will destroy anyone that messes with them, but this just makes them more nervous. They have a break for lunch, and as Mokata goes to prepare the food, he realizes he is out of meat. When Fel demands to have meat, Mokata says he eats too much and tells him to catch his own food. Fel agrees with this and heads into the forest, leaving the rest of the party amazed that he can already command the beast. Fel soon returns, bringing back a rock bird, and Werner is surprised, revealing that it's a B-ranked monster that they normally would struggle to defeat. Its beak and claws are valuable, and Fel lets them have the materials, as long as he gets the meat. Mokata starts preparing their lunch, treating it like chicken. He uses teriyaki sauce for flavor. He serves the party, and Fel wonders about his share. Mokata tells him since he eats so much, he will need to wait until the end, so he patiently waits his turn. Mokata makes a huge portion for Fel, and he happily eats it all. After that, the party makes it to the border of the kingdom of Venan. The guards are on high alert, and Werner thinks they are preparing for Fel, and they soon end up completely surrounded. The commander worries about letting in a beast that can destroy a country, but Mokata tells Fel not to cause any trouble, and Fel says he will only destroy those that harm them. The soldiers are amazed it can talk, and the commander ends up agreeing to let them in. As they enter, the party show their guild cards, but Mukata doesn't have one, so he is forced to pay to get in. They finally get in, and Werner warns Mukata that people will be after him when they hear he has a legendary familiar. Mukata despairs, thinking he had gotten away from the politics, but says he won't be staying for too long. Werner suggests it would be helpful to join a guild, and Mukata considers the Merchant Guild, but Vincent points out that the Adventurers Guild would be able to help with skinning and buying the materials from the beasts that Fell hunts, so Mukata struggles to decide. But Franca says that although it's not common, it's possible to just register for both guilds. The party heads into the town, and Mukata is hit with another fee. There is a servant that instantly greets him, inviting him to meet the Count as a legendary beast tamer. Mukata doesn't want to go, and tries to turn him down, but the man is insistent that he comes with him. However, when Fell approaches, he threatens the man, who runs off terrified. Werner worries about making an enemy, but Fell says he can handle anything they throw at them, and Vincent thinks it would take a dragon to go up against Fell. Mukata is shocked to learn there are dragons, and Fell agrees that a dragon would be the only thing that could match him, saying he once fought against one 400 years ago. Werner gets Mukata to sign off on their job, and Mukata is surprised he can understand the language, thinking it must be a skill that heroes are summoned with. The group thanks him for all the delicious food, and the party goes their separate ways. Mukata heads over to the Merchant Guild, and the people around try to avoid him. As he enters, everyone turns their attention to him, nervous at the sight of Fell. Mukata requests to join the guild, and the clerk explains that there are 5 levels of merchants, which determines the level of fees and taxes. She offers him the iron rank, and hands him his guild card. Later, Mukata finds that beasts aren't allowed to stay at the inn, but Fell is more interested in what's for dinner. Mukata starts preparing the meat, but suddenly gets a craving for rice, so he picks up another stove from his shop. As he cooks, Fell watches eagerly. He finishes it off with a sauce, and Fell devours it, finding it to be delicious. Mukata gives him another steak, but Fell notices a change in the flavor. Mukata reveals he has different sauces, and Fell is amazed that the same meat can taste completely different. But in the end, Fell really likes the garlic flavor. Mukata cooks for himself, making a delicious beef bowl, and he blows himself away. The next day, Mukata heads back to the Merchant Guild, wanting to sell some of his goods. When the clerk checks out what he has, she is shocked and runs off. Mukata wonders if there is a problem, but she ends up inviting him inside. He meets with the guild master, who examines his goods. The guild master tells him that the quality of his salt and pepper is exceptional, even fit for a king. He wonders how Mukata came across such product, and it turns out he just bought it from his shop. But Mukata says he came across it during his travels, and the guild master respects his privacy. The guild master offers to buy everything for 14 gold, shocking Mukata because it only cost him 5 copper each. As he considers the exchange rate, the guild master thinks he is reluctant and ends up offering even more money, and Mukata accepts the deal. He can't believe how easy it is to make money, and now he won't need to worry about making money for a while. He heads over to the Adventurers Guild next, and the atmosphere is completely different. He tells the clerk he wants to join, but she is disinterested, and just hands him a form. After he fills it out, she throws him his card, saying he starts at G rank, and he wonders if he could have an explanation about the guild. The girl sighs, and explains that adventurers are ranked from G to S rank. He is able to take missions up to 1 level higher than his rank, and the guild takes no responsibility for any injuries or death. Mukata checks out the job board, and finds an easy herb gathering mission to start with. The next day, Mukata starts getting ready, preparing to set off on his mission, but Fell glares at him, demanding that it's time for breakfast. The two make it to the fields, but Fell says he is still hungry. There wasn't enough ingredients, so Mukata tells him he should go hunting again. Fell agrees, but worries about Mukata's safety if he is not around, saying he can feel that there are monsters around. But Fell tells him not to worry, casting a protective barrier on him, and he dashes off, telling Mukata to have lunch prepared for him. Mukata starts his quest, searching for his herbs, but it's an easy task for him because he can use his appraisal skill on the field to easily find the right herbs. He is able to easily complete the mission, and even wonders if he will get a bigger reward for collecting more than the requested amount. With his mission complete, he decides to start making lunch. Since he is out of meat, he decides to make a cheap meal he can buy from his shop, which turns out to be spaghetti. As he is preparing the meal, Fel returns with a rockbird, saying he enjoyed the teriyaki from the other day. He says he hunted other monsters as well, but couldn't bring them all at once, but Mukata tells him they can pick it up later. Mukata finishes off preparing the spaghetti, but remembers the final ingredient, picking up some Parmesan cheese. Fel finds the spaghetti to be strange, but Mukata explains it is food from his own world. When Fel tries it, he is pleasantly surprised, enjoying it even though there isn't as much meat. Mukata tells him to try out the cheese powder, and Fel is amazed at the richer flavor. Fel ends up making a mess, getting the sauce all over himself, as Mukata laughs at the sight. Mukata is suddenly shocked when he sees the mountain of monsters that Fel hunted. There are all kinds of monsters, and Mukata starts stuffing them into his storage. He wonders if everything is edible when he recognizes an orc, but Fel tells him that orcs are considered delicacies, essentially treating them like pigs that can walk. With all the monsters stored up, Mukata heads to the Adventurers Guild and hands in the herbs. The girl is surprised he has so many, saying he must have gotten lucky, and pays him 9 silver for the herbs. Mukata then asks about selling monsters, surprising the girl, but he points over to Fel, and the girl is stunned to see him. She quickly regains her composure and points him over to the guild butcher. Mukata pulls out an orc, and the man worries about space, so they head out to the back. The butcher tells Mukata he has heard about him from the rumors around town. Mukata pulls out the mountain of monsters, shocking the man with the amount, and that there are also some A-ranked monsters. Mukata asks him to skin all the monsters, saying he will sell all the materials except for the meat. With so many monsters, the butcher tells him to come back the next day. Mukata asks him to skin one of the monsters so they can have something for dinner, so the man prepares one of the orcs for him. Mukata starts preparing dinner, and we learn his storage skill can keep his food from spoiling. He cuts up the orc meat, coating it with flour, and fries it up. He finishes it off with some leftover sauce from that lunch. Fel devours the food, saying that orc meat is much more tender than regular boar meat. Mukata is turned off by the image of the orc, but when he tastes it, he is pleasantly surprised. The next morning, Mukata heads back to the butcher's. There is a mountain of meat, and the man hands him his gold for all the materials. He is paid 202 gold, and Mukata is shocked at the amount of money. The man tells him he can't be so clueless, teaching him about the value of certain materials. The man also hands him some demonic stones that contain magic powers and are dropped from the A-ranked monsters. As Mukata walks through town, he thinks it's time that they left, and tells Fel they shouldn't stay in the same place for too long. Fel says he doesn't mind, but says he is hungry again after seeing the mountain of meat. The two make their way out of the town and find a place to set up camp. As Mukata goes to prepare dinner, he decides to treat Fel to a feast since he made him so much money. He pulls up his shop, showing Fel all the meats from his world, and he suddenly thinks it's raining, but it's really just Fel drooling over seeing the options. Mukata orders a bunch of food and creates a platter of mixed meat from his world. Fel is amazed by the different textures and flavors, having never eaten such foods before. Mukata follows up with the main dish, cooking up some Japanese black wagyu, but Fel is disappointed by its small size. However, when he tastes it, he is instantly blown away, and Mukata tells him it's from a cow that was specially raised. After their feast, Fel is energized, saying he could even beat up a dragon. Mukata gets worried hearing this, and uses his appraisal skill on him. He is shocked to see that Fel has a massive boost to all of his stats. With all his energy, Fel decides to go hunting, but Mukata worries about being left alone, so Fel casts his barrier on him, telling him it would be enough to even stop a dragon's breath, and he runs off. And trusting in Fel's barrier, he just prepares his bed and goes to sleep. Fel goes on a rampage through the forest, taking out a rock bird with a single slash, and using lightning magic to destroy a giant deer. There's a chimera beast that appears, but Fel unleashes a devastating lightning attack against it, causing a huge explosion. In the morning, Mukata can't believe himself when he finds 3 mountains of monsters all around him. Fel agrees that he might have gone a little overboard, but he boasts about taking the chimera with a single attack, when he normally would have had trouble against it. Seeing the effects of the black wagyu, Mukata has no choice but to ban it from his menu. As they have a break for lunch, Mukata wonders if Fel uses magic when hunting monsters. Fel reveals he is particularly good with wind magic, having been blessed by the wind goddess. Mukata is amazed to see magic for the first time and wonders if it's possible for him to use magic as well. Fel tells him it should be possible if he has magic power, so he checks his stats and finds that he should be able to use magic. He asks Fel for instruction, but Fel just tells him that he needs to just think about it. Mukata thinks this means imagining it and tries using a fireball, but nothing happens and he becomes embarrassed. Fel shows him how mana flows within his body, and after a while, he manages to shoot a fireball, but it's super weak. Fel comments on his training method, suggesting he should get experience from fighting monsters. Mukata is worried about getting hurt, but Fel gets annoyed and carries him off. They end up finding some goblins, but there is a whole village of them. Mukata worries there are too many, but seeing that he is a coward, Fel howls and draws the attention of all the goblins. They start getting chased, and Fel tells him he now has no choice but to fight. He leaves to find the goblin boss, and Mukata is left alone. Mukata attacks using his fireball, but as he tries to run, he trips over. As a goblin jumps at him, he is actually protected by Fel's barrier. He keeps throwing his fireballs, and eventually throws one that is quite powerful. He collapses after using all his mana, but Fel reappears to finish things up. When he wakes up, he has trauma from the experience, but Fel says he should thank him for helping him use magic, and even sense that he has leveled up. When Mukata checks, he finds he has even gained the fire magic skill. As a congratulations, Fel has brought the Goblin King. Even though it's not edible, he brought it back because it contains a magic stone. Seeing as magic stones can be traded for a lot of money, Fel thinks he should be rewarded with another feast, especially wanting the wagyu steak again, but Mukata refuses the request. Mukata is dizzy from the lack of mana, so he decides to just buy some food instead of cooking. It's an assortment of sweet breads, but Fel wants to have meat instead. Mukata insists that he is too exhausted, so Fel settles for the bread. Despite not being meat, he finds it to be good, and even asks for more. Mukata tells him if he eats too many sweets, he could get cavities or diabetes, but Fel tells him it's impossible. Since he is blessed by the wind goddess, he is immune to any sickness and other ailments. Fel gloats about being blessed, and Mukata thinks it's not fair since he is already so strong. Mukata begs to be blessed as well, and we see that the goddess seems to be watching. There is a commotion at the next town when Mukata approaches with Fel. He quickly shows off his guild card, saying that Fel is his great wolf familiar. When Fel tries to correct them, Mukata goes along with calling him a great wolf so they attract less attention. Fel suddenly talks telepathically to him, annoyed at being called a great wolf. The guard warns him that he will be held responsible for problems that Fel causes. When they get inside the town, Mukata suggests they need to find a map so they can know where they are going. Mukata visits a tavern. There are a bunch of rowdy adventurers, and Mukata approaches a group to ask questions. He orders a round of drinks for the table, and they happily talk to him. They tell him about the different kingdoms, and when he mentions that he doesn't have a map, the men reveal that they have a map that was passed down by an older adventurer. They show it to him, and say that since they have already memorized it, they offer to sell it to him for 1 gold. Mukata agrees to buying it, and they part ways. But after the men leave, the other adventurers laugh at him, revealing that he got scammed, because the map is just a common item that can be bought for 1 silver at the guild. Fel comforts him, saying they will make more money, and Mukata decides to head east, to the country next to the sea, but Fel is more interested in the seafood they'll get to eat. Meanwhile, the wind goddess Nenri watches over Fel, and she is curious about Mukata, who managed to form a contract with him. Seeing all the sweets they are eating, she wishes to have a taste of them for herself, but she knows she can't just intervene in the world. However, the thought of it is just too much, and it drives her mad. The pair go flying through the forest until Fel comes to a stop. Fel finds it strange he is covered in injuries, but Mukata tells him it's because he dashed so quickly through the forest. He wonders if they've arrived at the sea, but Fel tells him he stopped at a lake because he had a craving for fish. Mukata wonders how they can fish without a rod, but Fel uses his lightning magic on the lake, and all the fish float to the surface. Mukata starts collecting the fish, finding some trout, and he wonders if it is the same as fish from Earth. Fel tells him to collect the pink fish, saying that it makes his tongue tingle. Mukata thinks the color is suspicious, and when he appraises it, it turns out to be a poisonous fish. He throws it back, and refuses to cook it, not wanting to mix poison with his cooking, so Fel has no choice but to agree. He starts a fire, and as he buys some other ingredients, Fel keeps pestering him to buy meat, but Mukata keeps turning him down. Mukata starts preparing the fish, thanking a video series he watched about cooking fish. He guts the fish, and cleans it thoroughly. After skewering them, and adding salt, he puts them on the fire to grill. He ends up cooking up a number of fish dishes, and when they taste the food, they are both blown away. Fel devours the food, and Mukata even cracks open a beer to go with the fish, and they end up completely stuffed. Mukata becomes startled when he suddenly runs into a blue slime. Fel tells him not to be scared, since it's very weak. Mukata pokes it, feeling that it is kind of like jelly, and the slime high-fives him. He checks out its stats, and it's super weak, having only been born 3 days ago. It bobs up and down, and Mukata wonders if it's hungry, but he is all out of food. The slime ends up eating a bottle, and Fel says that slimes can even eat rocks. It starts eating other trash, but when it grabs the frying pan, Mukata quickly stops it. But in the end, Mukata is happy that it could eat all his trash, and the slime seems happy to be praised. He starts petting it, and Fel tells him it has become his familiar. Mukata is confused because he didn't make a contract, but Fel says that just accepting its feelings was enough. And when he checks his status, it has become his familiar. Fel tells him to name it, and Mukata ends up calling it Sui. A few days later, Mukata starts trying to learn earth magic, but he struggles to shoot even a pebble. Fel suggests that he needs some more hands-on experience, but Mukata is still traumatized from being chased by the goblins, and absolutely refuses. Mukata takes a break, and Sui tries to eat his bottle. Mukata notices that he is getting bigger, and is already level 8. He wonders if eating items from the other world will provide benefits, just like the food does. Fel starts getting hungry again, and Mukata makes an orc meat bowl for him, and even makes a bowl for Sui. Mukata enjoys a bowl for himself, but Fel quickly demands for seconds, and even Sui asks for more. After their dinner, Sui helps to clean the dishes, dissolving only the food scraps, and Mukata is thankful for his help. He decides to have dessert, to go with Sui's first meal, and he serves them some dorayaki, which is a pastry with a sweet red bean filling. Sui seems to really enjoy it, and Mukata is glad. In the morning, Fel gets a message from the goddess, and when Mukata wakes up, he shares the message that he received. He tells him that the wind goddess Ninri is willing to bless him, but there are a few conditions. He tells him that he would need to pray and offer sweets from the other world once a week. Fel goes on to tell him that it would be impossible to give him a full blessing, so he would only get a minor blessing, but it would still be enough to make him immune to all status ailments and even boost his magic. Mukata thinks it's a great deal and instantly decides to accept it. He wonders how he can pray and make his offerings, but Fel tells him he can use anything as an altar, even a rock on the ground, as long as his feelings are conveyed. For the first offering, Fel tells him that she wants the dorayaki as well as some cream and melon breads. Mukata can't believe she is demanding specific items, but ends up preparing them and offering them to the goddess. The items vanish, and he receives the blessing. Meanwhile, Ninri gets hold of the sweets, and she can't believe just how soft and sweet it tastes. She quickly devours it, and becomes sad when it's finished. She tries some coffee that Mukata sent, and she finds its bitterness pairs perfectly with the sweets. She reaches for the other sweets, but thinks she should savor them, but in the end she can't control herself, and just devours them both. Back with Mukata's training, he is able to shoot a larger stone, with much more speed and force, thanks to his blessing. Sui has also leveled up to level 13, and Mukata wonders if it will be able to evolve eventually. He keeps practicing, but gets tired when he runs out of mana. He has some chocolate to help him recover, and he even gives some to Sui. He waits for Fel, who seemed to have gone to investigate something, but when he returns, he notices that they were eating without him. Mukata shows him the chocolate he ate to recover, and Fel suddenly claims to be tired from running, so Mukata has to order some more for him. As he eats it, Mukata gets a message from Ninri. She calls it a divine message, but she just wants some chocolate as well. Mukata mentions how it hasn't been a week since his last offering, but Ninri insists on it. Mukata reluctantly sends her the chocolate, and Fel suddenly decides it's time to go. Mukata asks if they are in a rush, and Fel has a suspicious look on his face, and they end up at the entrance to a dungeon. Mukata is confused by what they are doing there, but Fel tells him that they are there to get experience. Just like when he learned fire magic, he had to fight against goblins. Mukata tries to sneak away, but Fel pulls him back. Looking at the dungeon, Mukata is terrified, wanting to leave. Fel tells him he has already explored the dungeon, and there are only weak monsters inside, but Mukata doesn't believe him. Fel insists on this method, because Mukata's own training hasn't produced much results. He tells him not to worry since he will protect him with his barrier, but tells him that one day he may not be there, so he will need to be able to defend himself. Mukata ends up agreeing, but decides that he needs to prepare before they go in. He prepares a feast of all kinds of food from his shop. Fel is curious what he is doing, and Mukata reveals that food from the other world gives temporary buffs, reminding Fel of how he felt stronger after eating the Wagyu steak. Since he doesn't know which foods boost which stats, he prepares to eat a bit of everything, and then give the leftovers to him and Sui. He starts eating, having a bit of each of the dishes, and Fel can sense that his stats are increasing. Mukata finishes off with some dessert, and he ends up completely stuffed. When he checks his stats, he can see that all his stats have increased by around 20%, and Sui and Fel's stats have also increased around the same amount. Fel suggests they are ready to go, but Mukata is still a little worried. They start to enter, but Mukata makes sure to remind Fel to cast his barrier. They walk slowly, and Fel starts pushing him along. Fel ends up shoving him, and he comes across a slime. He feels bad about attacking a slime, but Sui spits out acid and takes it out. Fel praises his attack, and thinks that Sui could even be unique. More slimes approach, and Mukata uses his stone bullet spell, and Sui takes out the other one. Fel warns him about horned rabbits coming up next, and they soon charge at him, and he panics and swings his sword wildly. As they head deeper, Mukata wonders why they are getting attacked, because normally monsters are too afraid to even approach Fel, but Fel tells him that dungeons are different, and the monsters inside will attack regardless. They come across kobolds on the next level. Mukata uses his stone bullet and manages to take both of the kobolds out. Mukata gets proud of himself, but Fel says he still has more to learn, and Mukata gets hyped up to get even stronger. They head to the final floor of the dungeon, and Fel mentions there should be about 10 kobolds, but Mukata is shocked to see that there are quite a few more. He wants to give up, but Fel drags him back, telling him that together with Sui, he can take them out. Mukata doesn't believe him, but Sui is pumped. Fel ends up kicking him off, and all the kobolds turn toward him. Mukata is terrified, and the kobolds charge at him, but he is protected by Fel's barrier. Sui attacks using his acid, and Mukata starts attacking with his earth magic. He takes some of them out, but more charge at him, and he starts shooting stones from both hands. Together with Sui, they manage to take out most of the kobolds. The remaining kobolds run, but they get blown away as the Kobold King appears. Mukata is terrified, barely dodging its attack. He runs and shoots his stone bullets, but they seem to just bounce off the king. He rapid fires with both hands, but it has little effect on the beast. Fel mentions that his barrier might not be enough to block the attacks, so he encourages Mukata not to get hit. As the Kobold King prepares its attack, Mukata casts an impressive stone blast that lands on the beast's head. Although injured, the beast gets back up. As Mukata tries to attack, he runs out of mana. The beast swings at him, but his barrier activates. Fel reveals that he lied, saying his barrier would never break to such a weak attack. As the beast struggles with the barrier, Sui comes to the rescue, attacking with his acid and taking out the Kobold King. The beast is reduced to a pile of goop, and Sui starts to glow, but Mukata ends up passing out. Fel carries him out of the dungeon, and Sui worries about him. Fel notices that Sui can suddenly speak. Sui can't wait to talk with Mukata and wonders when he will wake up. Fel says they can talk while they wait, and Sui happily calls him Uncle Fel. Fel is annoyed at being called an uncle, but Sui mentions how he is big and strong and is always taking care of them, so he sees him as an uncle. Fel is proud for a moment, but snaps out of it and refuses to be called an uncle. He leaves to get a snack, but quickly returns to remind Sui to stay in his barrier, and Sui insists that he is Uncle Fel. When Mukata wakes up, he panics, but soon realizes that he is outside. Sui comforts him and starts talking to him, and Mukata is shocked to hear him talking. Sui explains that after they beat the king, he started being able to talk. He calls him master, and Mukata finds him to be even more adorable. He checks on Sui's stats and sees that he has leveled up and even gained the acid bullet skill. He checks his own stats and finds that he gained 4 levels and now has the earth magic skill. Fel returns, and Mukata wonders where he went. Fel mentions how he was passed out for a while and he got hungry, so he went to find some food, but says that he prefers his cooking, so he asks for some food as a reward for helping Mukata learn earth magic. Mukata is annoyed that he lied about his barrier breaking, but Fel reasons that it was just to help him. Mukata gives in and decides to make some food. He prepares some eggs and some leftover rockbird, combining them together to create a delicious dish. Fel instantly devours it, amazed at the use of eggs, and Sui finds it delicious as well. After their meal, Mukata wonders if Fel has talked with Sui, and Sui mentions how he talked a lot with Uncle Fel when he was asleep. Mukata laughs at Fel being called an uncle, and Fel gets mad, reminding Sui not to call him uncle, and Sui begins to cry. Mukata calls him mean, and Fel has no choice but to let Sui continue to call him Uncle Fel. As they travel, Fel mentions that they are going to be passing through Orthros and Griffin territory. Humans would normally go around to avoid these areas, but Fel insists on going straight through. Mukata is shocked to learn this, and gets worried about getting attacked. He wonders why they are going straight through, but Fel says they are no threat to him. Mukata tries to get him to turn around, but Fel tells him they are already in the Orthros territory. Mukata hears the beasts in the forest, and they are soon approached by a pack of Orthros, which appear to be twin-headed wolves. Fel uses his intimidation, causing the Orthros to back away, but there is still one that wants to fight, and Fel tries to warn the beast, but it lunges at him, and Fel uses a skill, completely destroying the beast with a single slash. The other Orthros become terrified and run away. Mukata wonders about the attack that Fel used, and Fel explains that it's a skill he invented 600 years ago. As he talks about it, Mukata sees how smug he looks, and Sui wonders if he could also learn the skill. Mukata says it's unlikely since he doesn't have claws, but compliments his acid bullet skill, and Fel is left feeling jealous. As they set up camp, Mukata is still on edge, but Fel tells him not to worry, because the Orthros should have learned their lesson. Fel is more interested in what's for dinner, but Mukata still worries, and wonders if he has set up his barrier correctly. Sui calls out, saying he is hungry, and Mukata rushes to him, saying he will cook something nice for him, and Fel notices just how different Mukata is treating the two of them. As Mukata is about to cook, he asks Fel how long it will take for them to get through the forest. Fel tells him that they are halfway through, and Mukata is shocked that they have another 3 weeks to go. Thinking that they may run out of meat, Mukata decides to cook some black serpent. He has heard that it tastes just like chicken, so he decided to prepare it in the same way. He orders his ingredients and takes the meat off the bones. He finds the meat lean, like chicken breast, so he cuts it up, marinating it in sugar and sake. He makes a chili sauce out of his special ingredients and then fries it up all together to create his dish. Mukata is hesitant to try it, so he imagines it as chicken. As he eats it, he finds it to be delicious, and Fel demands to have some as well, snatching the dish out of his hands. Fel finds it to be amazing, and immediately demands for more. As they travel through the forest, Fel suddenly comes to a stop. He sees some glowing mushrooms, and says that they have the power to heal the body. They are usually quite rare, so Mukata decides to stock up on some. Sui eats the mushrooms, while Mukata continues to harvest them. Mukata ends up with a bunch, and Sui suddenly starts glowing. Mukata wonders if he is okay, and the glowing stops. Mukata uses his appraisal skill just to be sure, and finds that Sui has gained the skill to create healing potions. Fel suggests that skill is from eating all the mushrooms. Mukata is overjoyed to learn this, and he praises Sui. He asks him to try out his new skill, and Sui gives it a go. He eventually creates the healing potion from his hand, and Mukata quickly grabs a bottle and bottles it up. Fel says he has been around a long time, but has never seen a slime that can produce healing potions, so he thinks that Sui must be unique. Sui jumps onto him, and he continues to praise him. They continue traveling until they eventually enter the griffin territory. A griffin lands, and Mukata is terrified, but the griffin shows respect and is able to speak. It asks Fel for a favor, saying he wants to fight Fel so he can be accepted as the leader of his group. Fel agrees, but says he won't be going easy. Their fight begins as Fel charges at the griffin. Fel lands a kick, and the griffin shoots his feathers down. The area is filled with dust, and the griffin launches an attack. But Fel uses his wind magic, creating an enormous tornado, which cuts up the bird. Mukata tells him he has done enough, and Fel ends his magic. Mukata rushes over, and the griffin is heavily injured. Mukata calls for Sui, and drenches the bird with the healing potion. The griffin is saved, but it feels bad about losing. But Mukata tells him to look closer, and it seems he was able to do some damage to Fel, and Fel reluctantly admits to this. The griffin lets out a cry, and the rest of his flock joins him. He is accepted as the leader, and as thanks, he gives Mukata one of his feathers, saying they won't eat his descendants. The griffins leave, and they set up for another night. Fel demands lots of meat after using his energy in the fight, but Mukata mentions how he gets plenty every day. Mukata decides to cook up the rest of their meat, and he fries up some orc meat. Fel and Sui happily devour the food, but Mukata is hesitant, remembering what the orcs looked like. But in the end, it's just pork, and they all happily eat. After their meal, Fel wonders if he has been making his offerings to Ninri, but Mukata seems to have forgotten. Fel reprimands him, and we see Ninri waiting. Mukata finally prays, and Ninri yells at him for being late. Mukata tells her he's been busy, but Ninri says she has been watching and knows that he just forgot. She continues to reprimand him, but Mukata begs for forgiveness, offering up a large range of Western desserts. Ninri's mood instantly changes, drooling over the desserts. She is blown away by the cake and demands Mukata to send her the same amount next time. The group finally makes it through the forest, and they approach the kingdom of Leonhardt. He mentions they need to get to the guild because they are out of meat, and Fel immediately worries. He starts searching for the road, and they come across a caravan in the distance. Fel mentions they are being attacked by bandits, and Mukata tells him to save them, offering up a special dinner. Fel dashes off, excited about the offer, and we see that at the caravan, the people are struggling against the bandits. Fel arrives, letting off a deafening roar that causes everyone to freeze. He tells the bandits to give up or else, and they all throw down their weapons. They are all captured, and we meet Lambert, the owner of the caravan, and Lars, the leader of the adventurer group. They thank him for his help, and they are surprised to meet the person that all the rumors have been talking about. Mukata wonders where they are headed, and Lambert says they are headed to the city of Carolina. Mukata reveals they are new to the area, so he asks to tag along with them. Lambert feels safer having him around, and welcomes them to join him. As Mukata joins the escort, he hears the guards debating if Fel is a Fenrir or a great wolf. Mukata is shocked to see that the rumors about him have spread so far. Everyone seems focused on Fel, but Mukata worries about leaking his identity as a summoned hero. He realizes that nobles seem to have the most interest in Fel, and he hopes that no one will try anything in this new kingdom. The caravan stops for the night, and Fel reminds Mukata that he promised him a special dinner for saving the caravan. While the guards settle for eating jerky, Mukata finds a private area. Fel demands lots of meat, and Mukata seems bored of his request, but when Sui says he wants some meat, Mukata happily agrees. He is all out of steaks, so he decides to combine all the meat that he has left. Since he promised a special dinner, Mukata goes all out with his seasoning. He marinates his meat with his sauces, then adds flour and shakes it to create a coating. He fries it all up, and creates a delicious fried chicken dish. Sui finds it amazing there are 2 different flavors, and Fel also seems to enjoy it. As Mukata cooks up the rest of the meat, the smell travels over to the rest of the caravan. They are all drawn by the smell, and they approach to check it out. They wonder what he is eating, and Mukata offers to let them try some. The men instantly find it to be delicious, saying it's the best food they've ever had. Mukata keeps cooking and serving the food, and by the end, Mukata is exhausted. The guards all thank him for the food, but in the end, he didn't get to have any food himself. The guards tell him to rest while they stand watch at night, but the bandits curse at them. However, Mukata warns them not to try anything funny, or else Fel will tear them apart, and the bandits are terrified. After a peaceful night, they make it to Carolina. Lambert explains that it's the 5th largest city in the kingdom, and his family has been leather merchants in the city for generations. The bandits are handed over to the city knights, and Lars is headed to the guild to submit his report. Mukata decides to also head to the guild, and promises to visit Lambert's shop. At the guild, Mukata finds that his card has been unregistered. He didn't complete the minimum number of quests in the last month, so they ended up deactivating his card. Mukata thinks about everything he went through over the last month, but the clerk tells him that people usually try to take as many missions, so they can quickly get to F rank, because the time limit is extended to 3 months. Mukata decides to re-register, and mentions that he has gained a second familiar. He shows off Sui, but the girl is not impressed. He gets laughed at by some adventurers, but he tries not to let it bother him. Mukata heads over to the guild butcher, but he runs into Lars and his group. Mukata tells them he's just trying to sell some of the beasts that Fel caught, and Lars asks to have a look, wanting to see what Fel was able to catch. Mukata thinks it's okay, but when he shows his haul, the group is shocked, having never even seen some of the monsters. The butcher gets excited to work with such high-class materials, claiming to be the best at dissecting monsters. He skins the red serpent, mentioning how the meat is something commoners would never get to taste. Mukata and Fel imagine how it will taste, and Lars suddenly wonders what kind of meat they had for dinner the previous night, so Mukata tells him it was a bit of everything. The group immediately apologizes to him, not realizing that they had such a high-quality meal, but Mukata says that it's fine, since he has so much. At night, Mukata rests at an inn. He thinks he should try to reach F rank, since he needs to maintain access to the butcher. He's not sure about becoming an adventurer, and he suddenly hears Ninri's voice, telling him he has more important things to do. She says she has been waiting patiently for him, so Mukata checks his shop for some sweets. He picks out a bunch of jellies and pudding, and offers them to Ninri, thanking her for her blessing. As Ninri tries out the pudding, she is amazed by its wobbly nature, but as she enjoys it, it seems as though she has attracted the attention of the other goddesses. The next day, Mukata checks out the job board at the guild. Each of the jobs gives points based on their difficulty, with herb gathering giving 1 point and goblin hunting giving 3 points. He needs to get to 100 points to move up to the next rank, and Fel thinks they should take the goblin quest to level up faster, but Mukata refuses, because he still has trauma from the last time he fought goblins. Fel wants to get to the ocean as soon as possible, so he can eat all the seafood that he wants, because he's been craving seafood ever since the last time they had fish. Fel asks Sui what he thinks, suggesting he could fight against goblins, and Sui gets excited. Mukata tries to convince him to choose the safer option of collecting herbs, but Sui says he can already make his own medicine, and would rather just fight. Mukata gives in, and picks up the goblin hunting mission. They head into the forest, and their mission is to hunt 3 goblins. They quickly find some goblins, and Sui easily takes them out with his acid bullets. As proof that they killed the goblins, Mukata has to cut off their right ears. Mukata struggles to do this, and Fel thinks it's weird since he should be used to cooking monsters, but Mukata argues that it's not the same. Mukata's rant ends up attracting a whole swarm of goblins. Sui easily takes them out, blasting them with his acid spray. They find the goblin camp, but Mukata says they've already done enough to complete the quest. Sui begs to continue, and Mukata lets his guard down, and Fel drags him along. In the end, they take out all the goblins, and Sui says he had a lot of fun. Fel tells Mukata to collect the ears, but Mukata wants to refuse. Fel drags him along, and after collecting all the ears, Mukata has emotional damage. Mukata gets worried about how they should dispose of all the bodies, not wanting to attract other monsters or even a dungeon to form. Mukata ends up asking Sui to melt all the bodies with his acid, and Sui starts to shake and grows to an enormous size, and it seems Sui has gained a new skill to change his size. Sui starts to shake again and splits up into smaller pieces. There is a whole army of slimes, and they start melting down the pile of goblins. Mukata wonders if Fel has ever seen something like this, but even he is amazed. Sui finishes the job, and Mukata wonders just how much stronger he will become. When Mukata returns to the guild, everyone is shocked at how many goblins they took out. He is called to meet the guild master, and Mukata starts to worry. They are introduced to the guild master Willem, and he confirms that they wiped out the entire goblin settlement. Mukata admits to it, and Willem is impressed by Fel's strength. He reveals the real reason for calling him, mentioning a message he received from the royal palace. It says that they can freely live in the country, but ask to be able to rely on him in times of emergency. Mukata celebrates being free from the agendas of the nobles, and Willem says that just having a legendary beast in the country will be enough of a deterrent to the neighboring countries. Hearing that Mukata is looking to level up his guild rank, Willem decides to use his authority as the guild master to raise him to C rank. Mukata is shocked to hear this, and Willem says it would be a problem if Fel's master was too low ranked. In exchange for ranking him up, Willem has some requests for him to take on some A and S ranked missions for him. Fel is confident he can handle any mission, and Willem is happy to hear this, because there are no adventurers that can normally take on those jobs. Willem says that he will tell the other adventurers not to mess with them, and Mukata thinks he can trust him, so he makes a special request, revealing a bunch of high-ranked monsters that he's been keeping. Willem and the butcher are shocked to see the monsters, and the butcher has never even seen a chimera before. Mukata explains he kept them hidden because he didn't want to cause a scene. He wants to sell them to the guild, but Willem says that they don't have the money to even buy the chimera from him. The butcher gets excited to work with a blue ogre, and Mukata wonders what's special about it, so the butcher mentions it's a unique S-ranked monster. He points out the Orc King, which is also an S-ranked monster, with its ability to control all other orcs. Mukata can't believe all the S-ranked monsters that Fel has hunted, and Sui pops out, saying that he wants to be strong just like Fel, and Mukata starts to get nervous. Later that night, Mukata wonders what they should have for dinner, and Fel wants meat as usual. Mukata thinks they have been eating too much fried food lately, so he decides to cook something more refreshing. He boils up some rockbird meat, prepares his vegetables, and then starts shredding the meat. Sui joins in to help him out, and he tops it off with a sesame dressing. Fel is not sure about the vegetables, but they end up devouring the meal, and Sui finds the sesame sauce to be especially delicious. Mukata realizes he didn't cook any rice, so he makes himself a sandwich instead. Sui asks to try some, and Fel also asks for seconds. After the meal, Fel rests, but Mukata thinks it is pretty cramped for him, since they are used to sleeping out in the wild. Mukata takes out his futon to make it more comfortable for him, and he instantly falls asleep. The next day, Mukata goes back to the guild, and is surprised to see his new card is silver. Willem goes on to pay Mukata, calculating the value of all the monsters he sold. The red serpent was worth 200 gold, and the blue ogre was 432 gold. Mukata is shocked at the value of everything, and factoring in the goblin subjugation as well, it comes to a total of over 1900 gold. Mukata is left speechless, and starts to worry about people coming after him. Willem reveals the two missions that he wants help with. The first is subjugating a group of metal lizards. With their metallic skin, they are practically immune to physical attacks. The second mission is to hunt a herd of bloody horned bulls, which have been causing trouble in a beginner hunting ground. But Fel says they are delicious, thinking of it as beef, and getting excited to eat steak again. As they leave the guild, Mukata thinks they should head off in the morning. Fel wants to go right away, but Mukata says if they did, they would end up arriving at night. But Fel just wants to have steak as soon as possible. Mukata stops by Lambert's store, and he is interested in buying a new bag. Lambert shows him a number of different bags, each made with different materials, but it's going to be for carrying Sui, so he lets Sui pick for himself. Sui picks the one made out of red boar leather, and Mukata goes on to pick out a belt, as well as some new shoes. It comes to a total of 11 gold, but Lambert insists on giving it all to him for free, since Mukata saved his life and served him such a high-quality meal, so Mukata thanks him. Lambert asks about the black serpent that they ate and wonders if Mukata still has the skin, but Mukata says he already sold it to the guild. Lambert gets disappointed and mentions there is shortage of serpent skin. He dreams about getting his hands on some red serpent skin, and Mukata feels bad about selling it all to the guild. Lambert tells him if he gets any more serpent skin, to sell it directly to him, and Mukata agrees. After they leave, Fel feels like eating serpent, since they were talking about it so much. Mukata thinks about how good it tasted, so he decides to cook it again. He starts marinating the meat, and is ready to give Fel all he can eat. He starts frying it up, and when he tastes it, Sui and Fel complain he is eating without them. Fel wants to start eating, but Mukata fries the meat for a second time. As the two start eating, they find it even better than last time, since it's twice as crispy from being fried twice. After their meal, they are completely stuffed. Mukata keeps cooking, and Fel says he can't eat anymore. Mukata says it's for himself, and he plans to put some in storage so he can have some whenever he wants. Mukata enjoys a beer as Fel and Sui head to bed. He reflects on his adventure and feels lucky to have found such companions. Mukata and Fel head to the mountains where the lizards were reported to be. Mukata wonders where they could be, but Fel can detect their presence, finding a cave in the mountain. Mukata wants to wait outside, but Fel charges in. When they get inside, they only find one lizard, and Mukata thinks it's strange because it's glowing. He sees that it's a mithril lizard, and Fel says that it must have evolved after eating a bunch of mithril. He says that magic won't be effective, because mithril has the property to diffuse magic. Mukata thinks they might have trouble, but Fel uses his lightning to instantly defeat the lizard, saying he can use magic that can't be diffused. Mukata pays his respects and starts storing it away. He finds a piece of mithril ore and starts to imagine if he had a mithril weapon. He thinks about how it would be good for making armor, since it can diffuse magic, but Fel suddenly crushes the mithril, saying he doesn't need any armor because his barrier is far superior. He wants some more action, so he suggests they should carry on with the guild master's second request. Mukata isn't ready, but Fel is eager to eat some steaks, so he drags Mukata off. They arrive at the field where the bloody horned bulls are located. Mukata is worried because they are as big as rhinos and have a bad temper. He decides to wait on the side, and Fel approaches the bulls. Sui gets jealous that Fel is fighting the bulls, so he quickly follows after him. Mukata sneaks up closer to watch, and in an instant, there is a blast of wind, and all the bulls are defeated. Sui excitedly tells Mukata about the fight, and Fel compliments him on how he did. Mukata is surprised at the number of bulls, and starts stuffing them into his storage. Mukata starts thinking about all the beef dishes he will be making, and when they get back to town, Willem and the butcher are shocked to see a mithril lizard. Mukata gets nervous and wonders if there is a problem. The butcher explains that an intact mithril lizard is so rare that the last record of a sighting was 400 years ago. Willem explains that the lizard is a sign that there is a new mithril mine, saying that mithril is so rare that there are only 3 mithril mines in the whole world, and Mukata is shocked to hear it's such a big deal. Willem says that they will have to keep the lizard as an offering to the king, but mentions that he will be compensated for hunting the lizard and discovering the mine, suggesting it would be worth around 5,000 gold. The butcher is jealous, but Mukata seems to be terrified to hear this. Willem moves on to ask about the bulls, but Mukata shows that he has already completed that request as well. As Mukata leaves, he worries about his peaceful life being disrupted. Fel says there is no point in worrying, and he is more interested in getting to eat steaks. Mukata starts preparing their dinner, cutting up some steaks, and frying them up until they are medium rare. He sets them aside to rest in some foil, while Fel waits patiently with Sui. The steak is perfectly cooked, and when they taste it, they find it to be outstanding, with juice overflowing with every bite. Fel compares it to the wagyu that he had, and immediately asks for more. Mukata gives him another batch, and adds his favorite steak sauce, making it even more delicious. After their meal, they are completely stuffed, and Fel thinks it would be hard for him to go back to eating raw meat. Fel reminds him about his offerings to Ninri, and it seems he has forgotten once again. He quickly goes to prepare her offering and hears her voice, listing out all the things that she wants him to send. As he sends his offering, he suddenly hears the voices of the other goddesses. They think it's not fair that Ninri is getting all the sweets to herself, but Ninri says it's because she gave him her blessing. The other goddesses offer to bless him as well, so he will send offerings to them, but Ninri tries to object. Mukata says that he already has Ninri's blessing, but they point out that she only gave him a minor blessing, and that he doesn't have any affinity with wind magic. They suggest that with a more compatible blessing, he will get far more benefits. Since he has an affinity for fire and earth, a blessing from the earth goddess Kisha or the fire goddess Agni would be much more suitable. Ninri interrupts, saying that the god of creation is mad at them for giving too many blessings, but the two think it will be fine if they only give him minor blessings as well. Mukata wonders if there has ever been anyone with multiple blessings, but it seems that has never happened before. Mukata tries to use this as a reason to decline, but the two goddesses bless him anyway. The water goddess Ruka feels left out, because Mukata doesn't have any affinity with water, so her blessing would be useless for him, and she cries because she will be the only one who doesn't get an offering from him. The other goddesses start to panic, telling Mukata to do something. Mukata doesn't know what to do, and Sui tries to comfort him. Seeing Sui, Mukata asks Ruka to give her blessing to Sui instead. The goddesses all agree, and Ruka gives her blessing to Sui. Kisha points out that Ruka gave Sui a full blessing, but Ruka says it's okay, since she only gives her blessing out every 100 years, unlike the rest of them who constantly give their blessing out, making the god of creation mad at them. Now that he is blessed, they demand his offerings, so Mukata sends them an extra large box of desserts, and they are overjoyed. Mukata checks his status and sees his new blessings. Sui wonders what blessing does, and Mukata explains it protects him and boosts his power, but Sui doesn't really understand, so Mukata decides to test it out the next day. When Mukata tries out his magic, he finds his power has dramatically increased. Even after using his magic, he doesn't get exhausted like he used to, so he is pleased with the blessings. He tells Sui to try out some water magic to test his blessing, so Sui starts using some water magic, creating a spinning orb of water. Mukata is amazed, and wonders how far he can shoot it, so Sui fires it at a tree, which completely knocks it down. Mukata thinks he is amazing, but warns him not to attack anyone in town. Mukata keeps practicing his magic, trying out his new stone wall spell, while Fel leaves to go hunting, and at the end of the day, Mukata is excited to show them how he created a house using his earth magic. They are not particularly impressed, and Fel has returned with a black serpent, since he knows Mukata has a deal with Lambert. Mukata is suspicious of his intentions, but Fel just wants to be rewarded with a special dinner. When they wake up, Fel agrees his hut was pretty comfortable, and he wonders what they will be doing that day, suggesting they could go hunting, but Mukata isn't too keen. He says they should go back to town and deliver the black serpent that Fel caught for Lambert. They head back to the guild, and Mukata visits the butcher. All the bull meat is prepared, and the butcher gives him his payment for the portion he sold. Mukata pulls out the black serpent, and the butcher is surprised he found another one so easily. Mukata asks him to prepare it for him, and Sui appears, asking if it's time for lunch. Mukata gets ready to cook, and Fel asks why he is so enthusiastic. So Mukata reveals his new item that he bought, a grinder that will let him make minced meat. He starts grinding up the bull meat, and Sui finds it amazing, wanting to try it himself, and he helps grind up the meat, adding eggs, onions, and forming them into patties. They are also perfect for storing away in his storage. He fries up the patties, adding his special sauce, and Fel can't wait to eat it. After they enjoy their meal, Mukata washes his shirt, but the soap isn't very good. He gets an idea, and thinks he could sell the soap from his shop. He buys a bunch of shampoo and conditioner, transferring it into some bottles, so it's not as suspicious. Sui plays in a tub of water, and Mukata thinks about how he hasn't taken a bath in a long time. He goes to visit Lambert, who is surprised to see the black serpent's skin. Mukata goes on to reveal he is also a merchant, so he wants Lambert to check if his products would be valuable. Mukata gets worried at Lambert's reaction, but Lambert suddenly is in tears thanking him. Since his anniversary is coming up, he didn't know what to get her. but he thinks that these products would be perfect for her since she loves bathing. Hearing this, Mukata asks if he has a bathtub, and Lambert says he had one custom built for his wife. Mukata is amazed and imagines finally having a bath. He asks to see the bathtub, and Lambert agrees to show him. Mukata is amazed to see it, and Lambert explains how expensive it was, requiring a magic device to purify the water and hiring an earth magician to create it. He says it costs over a few hundred gold, so having one as a merchant is proof they are doing well. Mukata is keen on getting one, and Lambert offers to introduce him to the seller, which Mukata is happy to hear. Mukata ends up giving Lambert the products to try, and suggests he should test them out himself before giving anything to his wife. The next day, Mukata visits again, and Lambert is excited to see him. His wife suddenly rushes to meet him, introducing herself as Marie, and wants to know more about the products. After Lambert had a bath, he smelled so good, and his hair became so soft that she instantly noticed. Lambert is disappointed he ruined the anniversary present, but Marie says she also tried the products. Mukata thinks they want to buy more, but Lambert asks if he wants to sell them at his store. Mukata is surprised to hear this, since he has a leather shop, but Marie is sure the products will sell, saying it would be a shame for another merchant to sell it, because every woman in the city will want to buy some. She insists that Mukata sell it to them wholesale, and he agrees, since he doesn't have his own shop. When Mukata returns, he is exhausted after delivering a bunch of product to the shop. Fel wants to look for a dungeon, but Mukata rejects the idea, saying he is being called by the guild master. As Fel waits outside, Mukata hears some adventurers talking about a stray wyvern and gets worried about how dangerous they are. He goes to see the guild master and is shocked to see a gigantic stack of gold. Willem tells him he is getting 5,800 gold for discovering the mithril mine, and Mukata can only think about buying a bathtub for himself. There is suddenly an emergency, as a herd of wyverns is approaching. They are surprised there is a whole herd of them, but it seems because Mukata took out the pack of bulls, which the wyverns would normally hunt, they have now all grouped up. There are a number of injured adventurers, with some suffering from the wyvern's deadly poison. The guild is running out of potions and antidotes, but Mukata takes out his high-grade potions. As Willem uses the potion, the man's wounds are instantly healed, and they are shocked at how it completely healed everything, including the poison. After healing the wounded, Willem orders all the adventurers C-ranked and above to help fight the wyverns. Mukata realizes that includes him, and Willem rallies up everyone, and they prepare to fight, but Fel stops them, saying they will deal with the wyverns themselves. Mukata doesn't want to go, but Fel has been bored and says that wyvern meat is delicious, declaring that all the wyvern they defeat will belong to them. Willem wants to help, but Fel says he would only get in the way. They head out into the field and see the wyverns in the distance. Mukata can see they are dangerous, but Fel isn't worried and decides it's the perfect time to teach Sui how to fight flying opponents. He tells Sui that headshots are the most effective, but their wings are easier to hit. Sui tries aiming for the head, and while he misses, it's enough to bring it to the ground, and Fel finishes it off. They start fighting against the wyverns, and Mukata hides away. Suddenly, a wyvern approaches him, but he is protected by Fel's barrier. As the wyvern tries to attack again, it is stopped by Sui, who bounces him away, and Fel finishes it off. After defeating all the wyverns, Fel gets a bit hungry, so Mukata prepares to cook. He takes out the patties he prepared, and Fel thinks they are eating the same thing again, but Mukata coats them with egg and bread crumbs. He fries them all up, and with this small change, their meal is completely different. Meanwhile at the guild, Willem and the adventurers start to get worried, wondering if Mukata could handle the wyverns. But Mukata finally returns, and he reports that they wiped them all out successfully. The adventurers are amazed and celebrate, which Mukata finds strange, but Willem mentions that if the adventurers had fought against the wyverns, at least half of them would have died. Willem says he was worried they had failed, because it took them so long to return, and Mukata feels bad, because it was an easy battle, but they just stopped to have lunch. He decides not to mention it, but Fel points out the reason they were late, and Mukata gets embarrassed. Mukata reports that there were 13 wyverns, and Willem is interested in buying their parts. Mukata is happy to sell everything except the meat, but the guild only has enough money to buy half the wyverns. Back at the inn, Mukata suddenly remembers he needs to send his offerings to the goddesses, and he suddenly gets a divine message from Agni, telling him to hurry up. Mukata explains he is about to send his offering, and he suddenly gets a secret message from Nenri, reminding him that she was the first one to give him a blessing, so she wants to get more sweets than the others. Kisha secretly tells him that she wants him to send her the shampoo and hair products that he has been selling, and Ruka wants to try out his other food. Mukata tells them he can't keep their offerings a secret, since he will be sending it all at once, and Agni gets angry that the other goddesses were making secret requests, so she joins in and tells Mukata to send her alcohol, and Mukata can only agree. The next day, Mukata and Fel are attracting more attention after defeating the wyverns, and Mukata makes his way to a certain shop. He is amazed as he looks around, checking out the different bathtubs, and the clerk explains that they start from 300 gold, with some that are made with different materials that provide different effects. He ends up picking the green bathtub, and the clerk is shocked he decided so easily, since it would be very expensive for a normal person. The clerk wonders how he will pay, suggesting their payment plan, but Mukata shows he has the money. Mukata leaves overjoyed, and tells Fel they should get out of the city, because everyone has been looking at them since they dealt with the wyverns. They find a nice place, and Fel decides to go off and do some hunting. Mukata marks out an area on the ground, and using his stone wall skill, he creates a private area. He takes out the tub, and asks Sui to fill it with water, and when it's full, Mukata uses his fireball to heat up the water. Before taking his bath, Mukata furiously scrubs himself down, and finally gets to relax with Sui. After their bath, Mukata decides to cook some of the wyvern meat, and he is excited since Fel mentioned how good it tastes, and makes a special wyvern beef bowl. However, he notices that Fel still hasn't returned, so he decides to make some stew since he has extra time. He buys the ingredients, and cuts everything up. He sears the meat until it's brown, adding the vegetables next, and then adding water and some red wine. He adds some sauce for extra flavor, and then leaves it to simmer. Sui mentions that Fel is back, and as Mukata waits for him to appear, a dinosaur emerges, which is a shock to Mukata. Mukata asks him about the giant lizard, and Fel mentions that his fight with the wyverns was a letdown, so he went hunting and ended up fighting an earth dragon. Mukata can't believe what he is hearing, and can't believe there is a dragon in front of him. He doesn't know what to do with it, but Fel says it will be delicious. But Mukata reminds him of the exceptional rare monsters he has hunted, but are impossible to sell. He thinks that a dragon will definitely fall into this category, but Fel insists it will be delicious. Fel notices the stew that Mukata made, and immediately gets excited, but Mukata stops him, telling him he is dirty after his fight, and Fel is a bit offended. He tells Fel he needs to take a bath before dinner, and Fel is shocked. Mukata finds some dog grooming tools in his shop, but Fel reminds him he isn't a dog. Mukata helps untangle his fur with a brush, and then proceeds to splash him with water. Mukata wonders why he flinched, but Fel immediately denies it. Mukata keeps splashing him to get him wet, but Fel finds it ticklish and wonders if Sui could just use his water magic, but Mukata mentions that Sui's water wouldn't be hot. However, Mukata gets an idea and turns Sui into a shower connected to the hot water. Fel gets completely drenched, and Mukata starts to shampoo him. Fel starts to enjoy it, but Mukata mentions washing his face, which scares him, but he agrees to it, not wanting to look weak as a legendary Fenrir. After it's all over, Mukata prepares to dry him off, but Fel shakes off all the water instead. Mukata comments on how good he looks, and Fel demands that it's time for dinner. They start with the special beef bowls, which Fel finds amazing, and Mukata is surprised that wyvern tastes similar to Wagyu. As they eat, Mukata tells Fel he needs to start taking regular baths, and Fel is not happy about this. But Mukata uses Sui to tell him he looks better now, so Fel agrees to the arrangement. When they try the wyvern stew, Fel can't believe how good it tastes, and looks forward to what Mukata will make in the future. Back at the guild, Willem says it's impossible to resell the dragon, and the butcher mentions that every part of the dragon's body is too valuable and refuses to work on it. Fel mentions that he just wants the meat, but Mukata says it's not that simple. However, Willem thinks it could be possible for a certain dragon expert. and Mukata and Fel are excited. Willem points to another city, and Fel is excited to see it's near the sea, remembering his goal to eat krakens and other sea monsters. But Willem and the butcher just laugh, hearing such an absurd statement, but they know that's exactly what they will do. Mukata says farewell to the people he met along the way, and they set off for their next adventure. We see Fel as he takes out a bunch of spiders in the forest, and he thinks they were no challenge. Mukata wonders what they should do with them, but Fel notes that they're hard to eat because of their hard outer shells. Sui is disappointed he didn't get a chance to fight, so Mukata comforts him, and Fel is annoyed by how differently he treats the two of them. Mukata puts the spiders into his storage, and Fel decides it's time to eat, telling Mukata he should be thankful for being able to ride on a legendary beast. Mukata checks his ingredients, and he realizes that he only has a bit of each meat, so he decides to make gyoza. Fel wonders what it is, but he just tells him to let him cook. He picks up a few extra ingredients from his shop, and starts by first chopping up the vegetables. He then adds a range of seasoning to the meat, mixing it with his hand, and then he adds the vegetables as well. Fel starts to get impatient, but Mukata explains that he still needs to wrap them up. Sui tries to help him out as well, and he adds too much filling, but he still tries his best. They eventually finish wrapping all the gyoza, and Mukata goes on to start frying them. Once they start to brown, he adds water and covers it to cook it with steam, and when it's finally ready, he flips it to reveal the dish. Fel and Sui are excited, and Mukata thinks about adding other sauces, but Fel digs right in. He finds the burst of juices delicious, and Sui enjoys the crispy skin. They quickly finish their plate and ask for seconds, so Mukata tells them he already started on the next batch. After the meal, Fel and Sui praise Mukata, and he finally gets a chance to eat himself, but as he enjoys himself, there's a creature that suddenly lands on his face. He wonders what it is, and Fel reveals that it's a pixie dragon. Mukata realizes it's attracted to the food, so he gives it a piece, and it seems to really enjoy it. It starts asking him for me, so he gives it his plate, and he thinks that it's kinda cute, but Fel tells him not to underestimate it, because pixie dragons are fast, and they can use all types of magic. After it finishes eating, the dragon suddenly jumps onto Mukata's face, causing a flash of light, and it starts talking to him, asking him for even more. Mukata wonders who's talking, and Fel tells him that the dragon just became his familiar. He tells Mukata that he doesn't mind becoming a familiar if it means getting more delicious food, and Mukata is shocked that it happened again. Sui is excited to have another companion, and Mukata wonders if it's really sure it wants to be a familiar, so he mentions that it was the best thing he ever tasted, and he's happy to stay with him to get more. Fel agrees with his thinking, especially since forming a contract for a few decades isn't a big deal for them since they live for so long, and Mukata can't believe that this is how they think. The dragon asks for a name, so Mukata thinks about it, and he suggests Drago, but he thinks it's dumb and makes him sound like a kid, revealing that he's over 100 years old. But when Mukata checks his stats, he sees that his name has already been set, and Fel remembers when Mukata tried to name him like a normal dog. Sui is happy with his name, and Mukata is glad to see them already getting along. They head into the city of Krell, where Mukata registers Drago as his familiar, and the receptionist can't believe she's actually seeing a dragon. She mentions that their guild master has a request, and he suddenly introduces himself as Rodolphe. He asks Mukata to check out the forest, which has been strange lately, mentioning that the monsters have become more aggressive, even though it isn't the mating season. Mukata suggests just avoiding the forest, but Rodolphe explains that the web that can be found there is used to make their specialty garments, and it would be a big loss for them if they couldn't make them anymore. Mukata isn't sure about it, but Drago mentions that it would be easy, because the northern forest only has weak monsters like spiders and centipedes. Mukata realizes the web would be from the spiders, and he takes one out from his storage, apologizing to Rodolphe because he didn't know they were important. He takes the rest out of his storage, but Rodolphe tells him not to worry, because they reproduce quickly and he often needs to order them to be subjugated. He mentions that the shells can be sold for quite a bit of money, and that the meat is delicious after being boiled in salt water, which gets Fel and Drago excited. They both want to try it, so Mukata asks to sell everything besides the meat. After that, Mukata goes to check out the market, and he thinks about getting some new clothes. He's impressed by the quality, but realizes it's quite expensive. Fel thinks that all clothing is the same, but Mokata notes that they aren't the same since he doesn't have fur on his body. He ends up deciding to spend the money to buy the clothes, and after that, he heads back to Rodolphe, where the spider meat has been prepared. Rodolphe notes that the flavor is best with the shell, so he left it on, and Mokata thinks it looks just like crab, but when he tastes it, he thinks that it's even better. He cooks a number of dishes using the meat, and he decides to consider it Drago's welcoming party, saying that the food is even better when there's an occasion. They all enjoy the food, and Mokata decides to grill up some of the meat for himself, but Fel and the others quickly notice, and they demand to try it as well. They all find the texture and flavor to be amazing, and Drago is glad that he chased after Mokata. Mokata wonders what he means, so he mentions that he smelt their food from the previous city and has been following them ever since. But he got lost in the forest, so Mokata realizes that Drago was the reason that the monsters in the forest started to act strangely. Mokata has a bath after that, and we see that Fel and Drago are completely stuffed. Mokata heads to bed, thinking he needs to hand over the spider shells in the morning, but he has a feeling that he forgot something, and we see the goddesses complaining about him. He hands over the shells to Rodolphe in the morning, and he even gives him some of the meat they couldn't finish. Rodolphe is excited by this, so Mokata goes to give him more, but he accidentally pulls out his earth dragon. He asks Rodolphe if he knows the person that's the dragon expert, and he's shocked to actually see it, thinking it could be worth as much as an entire kingdom. Mokata mentions he wants to find someone who can process the dragon, so Rodolphe tells him to look for Elrond, the guildmaster of the dungeon city of Dolan, but he hesitates as he thinks about the type of person that Elrond is. Meanwhile, Ninri throws a fit since Mokata has forgotten about them, but it seems there are two other gods that have noticed their arrangement. Mokata makes it to Dolan, and Fel thinks about taking on its dungeon there, while Sui also gets excited to fight. When they get to the entrance, Drago wonders why there's a line, so Mokata mentions how they need to show their guild card or pay a fee to get in. Fel thinks it would be faster to jump over the wall, but Mokata notes that they would become criminals and they wouldn't be able to get the dragon process. The people in line are surprised when they see Mokata, so he quickly apologizes for the trouble and tells them not to worry about his familiars. The guards come to check out the commotion, so Mokata identifies himself as an adventurer and mentions that he came to see the guildmaster. The guards are hesitant to believe him, but Elrond suddenly appears, calling Mokata his guest, but he's shocked when he sees Drago. He reveals that he knows about the situation from Rodolphe, and he suddenly pulls out a special perch for Drago, but he just sits on the couch, and Elrond excitedly writes about it. He serves tea next, giving Drago a special mana-infused nectar, but he's not impressed, and Mokata realizes that he's quite the fanatic. He asks to see the Earth Dragon right away, so they head to the warehouse, but the deputy guildmaster named Ugor gets in the way, reminding Elrond that he has a meeting with the merchant guild in the afternoon. He wants to just cancel it, but it seems he doesn't have a choice. At the warehouse, Elrond mentions that during the last dragon subjugation over 200 years ago, he wasn't able to join because he was only at rank B, so he worked since then to get to the S rank, and even became a guildmaster, but there hasn't been a dragon subjugation team since that day. Mokata pulls it out of his storage, and Elrond is shocked to actually see it in person. He starts freaking out, wanting to record everything about it, but Fel just wants him to hurry up so they can get the meat. Elrond wonders what kind of food Drago eats, since he wasn't interested in the flower nectar, so Mokata notes that he eats just about anything. Elrond is shocked to hear this, and Drago mentions having never heard that pixie dragons like flower nectar, saying that he prefers meat. So Mokata tells Elrond about what Drago said, mentioning that they talk through telepathy, and Elrond can't believe it. He starts freaking out since he has never heard of telepathy in his life, asking to know more, but Ugor pulls him away, assuring them that despite Elrond's strange behavior, his skills are the real deal, asking them to just give them some time. Fel notes that he only cares about the meat, and Elrond realizes they plan on eating it, so he begs to be able to taste it as well. Mokata notes that it's Fel's decision, so he tells Elrond he will give him some if he does a good job with the processing. After that, Mokata and Fel are completely exhausted, and we see that it was because Elrond had an endless number of questions for them. They're all starving, so Mokata decides to just buy something easy from his shop. Drago is surprised to see his skill, and Mokata sees that there's a Hokkaido promotion, so he decides to pick up some of the items. Fel is excited to see that there's meat, and Mokata reveals that he also got a Kangaskhan pot, which is especially good for cooking vegetables. Fel isn't impressed hearing about vegetables, but Mokata tells him to let him cook. He heats up the pan, filling the edges with the vegetables, and then he cooks the meat in the middle, and as the juices of the meat combine with it, they all start to get excited. Mokata presents the final dish, and Fel complains that half of it is vegetables, but when he tastes it, he finds that they go together well, since the vegetables have absorbed all the flavor, and they all ask to have seconds. After that, Mokata is glad everything worked out, and he decides to have some dessert. Sui finds it delicious, so Fel and Drago also demand to try it. Drago can't believe how good it is, and Fel tells him it was too small, so he asks for another one. The next day, they head back to the guild, and it seems Elrond spent the whole night analyzing the dragon, so Mokata realizes he hasn't even started processing it. He mentions that the first step is to drain the dragon's blood, and since its skin is so tough, he takes out a special mithril knife, but when he goes to cut the dragon, it instantly snaps in half. He can't believe that their treasure was destroyed so easily, but he's also excited at the same time learning more about the dragon. He notes that they will need to prepare a stronger blade, so Fel realizes he needs to keep waiting, so he falls into despair. Ugor notes that they don't have any other suitable knives, and Mokata wonders what they should do, so he mentions collecting ore from the dungeon, and Fel wants to go immediately. He suggests that he can go by himself, but Mokata thinks that if he stands out too much, they won't be able to travel and eat as freely anymore. Fel sees his point, and Mokata quickly changes the topic by mentioning that it's time to eat. He fries up some orc meat, adding the leftover vegetables from the previous night, and he ends up making a pork kimchi bowl. He adds an egg on top, and as they all enjoy the food, Mokata is glad he was able to distract them. Meanwhile, the goddesses complain about Mokata's lack of offerings, but the two other gods mention that they have caught on to what they are doing. They introduce themselves to Mokata as the god of blacksmithing Hephaestus and the god of war Vagan. Mokata asks about the mithril knife, so Hephaestus notes that with his blessing, he will be able to create one that is stronger, but he asks for an offering of alcohol in return. He prepares to bless Mokata, but he realizes Mokata doesn't have the talent for it, but he senses that Sui has potential. Vagan also wants to offer his blessing, and Mokata doesn't want anything to do with war, but Vagan reminds him that he's going into the dungeon, so he ends up asking him to bless Fel and Drago. After they are all blessed, the gods enjoy themselves with Mokata's offering, and Ninri reminds him not to forget about them again. Mokata sees that Sui now has a blacksmithing skill, and he wants to get some mithril ore to try it out, but Fel reminds him that when they defeated the mithril lizard in the past, he actually already found some mithril ore, so he takes it out of his storage and asks Sui to make a knife. Sui glows as he uses the skill, and when he pulls it out, Mokata is impressed that it's even better than before, so he thinks they don't need to go to the dungeon anymore, but Fel thinks it's a different issue and still wants to go. Mokata wonders about the blessing from the god of war, and he realizes that it increases Fel and Drago's stats by 50% during a fight, but it also causes them to become more aggressive. We see Elrond exhausted, as Ugor explains that he's been desperately trying to find something sharper than mithril, so Mokata mentions he has something he wants to try. Elrond uses the new knife, and they're all amazed when he's able to cut into the dragon. He wonders where Mokata got such a knife from, and he quickly stops Sui from revealing himself. Elrond is overjoyed that he can finally process the dragon, and Mokata wonders how long it will take, so he asks to have 3 days. Fel is impatient, but Mokata reminds him how big the dragon is, so he thinks they should go to the dungeon while they wait. Mokata doesn't like the idea, but Drago also wants to go, so he can test out the god of war's blessing, and after Sui says that he also wants to go, he eventually gives in. As they arrive at the dungeon, they learn that it has 30 floors, and no one has been able to clear it yet. The girl suggests bringing extra food because they could be inside for a while, and Mokata realizes he isn't prepared enough. Fel gets annoyed, wanting to just go in, but Mokata mentions he wants to prepare more food, asking them if they want to be forced to eat terrible food while they're inside, so Fel has no choice but to be patient. As they go to the market, a shopkeeper calls him over, and he sees that he recognizes the vegetables, but they seem to go by different names. He asks about the meat, but he's surprised when the man tells him it costs a gold. The man notes that monster meat is a luxury item, and Mokata realizes it's why everyone he's met has found it so special, but since Fel can hunt monsters, he decides to just buy the vegetables. They see a magic stove after that, and the shopkeeper mentions it's their latest model, showing off how it even has an oven. Mokata thinks about the different dishes he could make with it, but finds out that it costs 860 gold. Fel thinks he should get it anyway, since it means more delicious food, and after they all beg him to get it, he ends up giving in. He tries it out at night, cooking a bull and wyvern rice bowl, which they all find delicious, and after that, he thinks he should prepare some meals in advance. With the help of the others, he cooks up a number of dishes, and as Fel tries to get close, he accidentally squirts sauce onto him. They end up making 5 different meals, and Mokata has to stop them from eating it right away. After that, we see that Mokata asked Sui to make him a sword, so he thinks he doesn't need to be as worried going into the dungeon. Ugor comes to tell him that the Earth Dragon is ready, but when he asks for a moment, he realizes Ugor has been swamped since he had to take over all of Elrond's duties. They head over to the warehouse, and they see Elrond admiring the dragon's blood, so they think he's a weirdo. He reveals all the materials from the dragon, calling the time he spent the best 3 days of his life. He asks to buy a few of the items, and Mokata is surprised that he wants so little, so he notes that it's all the guild can afford, and he pays Mokata 3,800 gold. Mokata can't believe how much a few of the items were worth, and as he puts the rest into his storage, Fel asks about the meat, since he doesn't see any of it around, so Elrond guides them over to his freezer, where he explains he took care to keep it fresh. Sui starts grabbing the meat, and Elrond once again asks to be able to try it, so Mokata reminds him about their deal. Elrond is excited to hear this, immediately inviting him to eat at his house, and Fel agrees with eating it right away. Mokata wonders if Elrond needs to get back to his work, but he notes that there's nothing that's more important, so Mokata realizes he can't be reasoned with. He pulls out his stove in Elrond's yard, and Elrond shows that he also has the item box skill. He starts to talk about how he used to be a warrior, but Mokata just ignores him to start cooking. He decides to try out his oven, so he starts off by rubbing the meat with salt and pepper and preparing the vegetables. He surrounds the meat with the vegetables and tops it off with olive oil and herbs. He puts it into the oven, and they all stare at it while they wait. When it's finally ready, Mokata slices it up, and he finishes it off with Fel's favorite sauce. Everyone is excited by it, and when Mokata tastes it, he finds it better than any meat that he's ever had before, and he can see why Fel was so keen on it. Everyone seems to enjoy it, and Fel notes that he cooked dragon using fire magic in the past, but this is on a completely different level. They all ask for more, but Mokata asks Drago if he should really be eating another dragon, so he notes that earth dragons are a completely different species, so he thinks it's fine. We see Elrond crying as he eats, because it was always something that he dreamed of, and he can't believe how good it is. After that, Fel feels energized from the meal, and he declares that it's time they check out the dungeon. Mokata decides to do his offerings before they go, and as the goddesses wait for him, Vagan wonders if they gave him a defense skill. Ninri thinks her blessing will protect him, but Vagan thinks it's not enough, asking what they will do if Mokata ends up dying. They freak out realizing that they won't be able to get any more items and sweets, so Hephaestus suggests giving Mokata a skill, and they all agree with him. As Mokata prepares his offering, Hephaestus tells him about their decision to give him a skill, so he tries to turn it down, but Hephaestus tells him he doesn't have a choice. The next day, Mokata is surprised to see the receptionist that he first met, and she introduces herself as Bianca. Mokata wonders what she's doing there, so she notes that the dungeon has been busy lately, so Dolan's guild asked for help. She tries to stay cool as she registers him, but when they leave, we see her losing it over Fel. Mokata is worried as he gets to the dungeon, but Fel tells him it's too late to back out. As they head down, Fel can sense that there are only weak monsters around, and Mokata mentions that most adventurers hunt around the 10th to 15th floors, so Fel thinks they should just go straight there. Mokata wonders what he means, but we see them running at full speed through the dungeon. Fel runs right through a group of goblins, and there's suddenly an arrow that comes flying, but it hits Fel's barrier. Mukata wonders if dungeons are really natural, since the traps seem artificial, so Fel reminds him how dungeons are like living creatures that lure people in with their treasure, and when the people are killed by the monsters and traps, the bodies are absorbed as nutrients to continue growing. Fel isn't worried since he has his barrier, but he triggers another trap that opens a pit, and he steps over it using his wind magic, so Sui thinks he's cool, but Mukata still thinks it's too dangerous. They make it to the 10th floor, but Fel notes that the monsters there are still weak, so he wants to keep going. We see a group of adventurers outside the boss room, and they're surprised when they see Fel, but Mukata quickly explains that he's his familiar. He wonders why they aren't going in, so they mention that there are rules in the dungeon, where the party that attacks first gets priority, but they note that there are also some who ignore the rules and steal the items that are dropped, so they warn Mukata to be careful. Fel and the others get bored waiting for their turn, and when the adventurers come out, Mukata wonders why they aren't going to the next floor, so they note that they prefer to be safe since they have families. As Mukata heads inside the room, he freaks out when he sees that the boss is a giant spider, but Drago takes it out with a single fire blast, and he's impressed by the God of War's blessing. Mukata is surprised by the drops, thinking it's like a video game, but Fel tells him to hurry up. They defeat the orc general boss on the next floor, and Drago notes that he's getting hungry after using up his mana, so they decide to take a break. They find a resting area that's safe, and Mukata is surprised when he runs into Werner and his party. They explain that they came to check out the dungeon, and Mukata mentions how they were headed to the coast, but Fel insisted on checking out the dungeon as well. They're surprised to see he has more familiars now, so he introduces them, and Rita finds Sui adorable. Fel tells Mukata to get on with making the food, so he invites Werner and the others to join them, mentioning that he has plenty to go around. They're all blown away by the taste, and Fanka notes that it's the best meat that she's ever had in her mouth. They can't believe they had another chance to have Mukata's cooking, and they wonder what kind of meat they're having, but when he mentions that it's wyvern meat, they all apologize for eating something so valuable, but he tells them not to worry about it, and even offers them seconds. Werner isn't sure that they should, but he ends up giving in and they all ask for more, but Mukata is just happy that they appreciate his work. After that, Werner and the others decide to continue exploring the floor, telling Mukata to stay safe, but Werner thinks he'll be fine since Fel is by his side. We see Mukata as they defeat the bosses on each level, and they make it to the 16th floor, where he feels the atmosphere is different. Fel accidentally triggers a trap, and there's a giant boulder that comes rolling, so Mukata starts running, but Fel just smashes it into pieces. They make it to the 20th floor, and Sui mentions that he found something, and Mukata sees that it's a chest. He gets excited wondering what might be inside, but Fel stops him, reminding him about how the dungeon used his treasure to lure in victims. So Mukata uses his appraisal skill on the chest, and realizes that it was rigged to release poison that would kill him. Fel offers to opening it since he has the goddess's blessing, but Ninri suddenly mentions to Mukata that since he received 3 minor blessings, it's as strong as if he were given a full blessing, so he should be protected from most things, and she tells him to enjoy the dungeon. He decides to open the chest himself, and the gas explodes out from it, but he seems to be completely fine. He wonders what he was able to find, but becomes depressed when he realizes it was empty. He becomes determined to find a real chest, and he ends up finding a massive one on the 21st floor. He hopes that there's something good inside it, but realizes that it's actually a mimic. He decides to open it anyway, so the mimic attacks him, and he swings wildly at it, but he manages to defeat it thanks to his new sword. The mimic turns into a jewelry box, and Mukata is happy to finally find some real treasure, finding all kinds of gems inside it. They head down to the 22nd floor, but are surprised when they find a forest. Fel thinks it's finally getting interesting, and he senses a strong presence nearby. They end up being surrounded by giant mantis monsters, but Fel takes them out with his lightning since they're weaklings. Sui wants the chance to fight as well, so Mukata tells them to take turns. Drago blows right through a giant bear, and Sui takes out a bunch of poisonous moths using his acid bullets. They get closer to the presence that Fel sensed, but Mukata wants to take a break to eat and buff up his stats. Fel doesn't think they will lose, but he also notes that he isn't going to say no to eating. Mukata picks up some wagyu from his shop, along with a number of other meats, and ends up serving them a mixed meat dish. They immediately ask for more, and he can't believe how fast they are eating, as they suddenly ask him for a third round. They're all completely stuffed after eating, so Mukata checks their stats, and sees that they're all massively boosted, but when he checks on himself, he's disappointed to see that his stats only slightly improved. But he thinks it will be fine since he's not the one fighting, and he's happy to see that he also has Hephaestus's perfect defense skill, so he thinks he doesn't need to worry about anything. Drago gets excited to see the monster, and it turns out to be an S-ranked serpent, and Mukata sees that its poison would normally kill him within 5 seconds. Drago is excited that they have a worthy opponent, so Mukata hides behind a tree and tells them to have fun. Fel reminds him he has his perfect defense skill, but he's still too scared to face it. Fel and the others begin their attack, and as they work together, they're easily able to take out the snake. They find a teleportation circle to the next floor, and as they are transported there, Mukata wonders why it seems so big, and they realize that there are giants on that level, but they are still no match for Fel and the others. They all start to get hungry, and Mukata finds another safe area, so he decides to eat there. He takes out one of his pre-made meals, and he quickly serves up some soup and sandwiches, which they all enjoy. After that, Mukata decides they should rest for the night, but there's suddenly a group of adventurers that appear, with one of them badly injured. They don't have any more potions, so they ask Mukata for help, and he gives them one of his potions. The man is instantly healed, and the party can't believe it was so effective. The leader introduces themselves as the A-rank party called Tempest, and he offers to pay 15 gold for the potion. Mukata thinks it's too much, so he throws in a few extra lower-grade potions, and he asks them about what happened. The leader reveals that they came across 3 Spriggans in the boss room, and Fel notes to Mukata about how they're bigger than even Minotaurs. The leader notes that it's their second time in the dungeon, and the first time that they were there was only one of them, so they ended up getting caught off guard, but Fel tells Mukata not to worry, because he will be able to easily handle them. After resting, the group heads to the boss room, where they find the 3 Spriggans, but Fel and the others easily take them out. Mukata finds a magic bag they dropped, and as he picks up the other items, he feels a little bad since he didn't do anything. Fel senses that the next few floors also have giants, and Mukata decides he should help out, but he's instantly terrified as the monsters try to hit him, and the others think he's hopeless. They make it through the next few floors without issue, but when they arrive at the 29th floor, Mukata finds that it's a huge desert, and the others are excited to check it out, but after running for a while, the heat starts to get to them, and Mukata sees Sui melting, so he tells him to get into his bag. They take a break in some shade, and Fel uses his barrier to block out the heat. Mukata instantly feels better, but Fel notes that he can't keep the barrier up forever, so they'll need to cross the desert before his mana runs out. Mukata thinks of other ways to cool off, and he ends up giving them a drink to replenish their electrolytes. He buys them all ice cream as well, and they manage to cool off. After that, they continue on their way, and Mukata wonders if they're going in the right direction, so Fel notes that he's heading to where he senses the boss. They take out a number of monsters along the way, but it eventually turns to night, and Mukata can't believe how cold it's become. He decides to make something to warm them up, and he ends up making a rockbird and tempura udon. As they eat it, they all feel much warmer, and they quickly ask for more. The next morning, they take out the boss, and they head to the final floor. They're instantly faced with a behemoth, and Mukata can't believe they're fighting the final boss right away. Drago gets excited and charges in with Sui, but they're both blown away. They both get back up, and Fel notes that the behemoth is resistant to both physical and magic attacks. They dodge the behemoth's charge, and Fel notes that they need to completely overwhelm it, but their attacks seem to have no effect. Fel notes that the damage will add up over time, and he tells the others not to stop. They attack with their different skills, and Drago eventually manages to land a solid hit. It suddenly fires an energy beam at Mukata, but Fel saves him just in time. He notices that Sui's acid was able to remove the behemoth's armor, so he tells him to keep going. Sui grows to an enormous size and starts dousing the behemoth with his acid, while Drago attacks with his wind slashes, and Fel finishes it off with his lightning strike. Mukata celebrates defeating it, and he sees that it dropped a sword. As he checks it out, he sees that it's made of adamantite and enchanted with magic, but he decides to put it away so they don't attract even more attention. He thinks they should head back, but Fel and the others want to eat, telling him that it's safe since the boss is gone. Mukata agrees, and he decides to go all out to celebrate their success at clearing the dungeon. He makes all kinds of fried food, which they enjoy, but he tells them that there's more. He uses batter to coat sausages, frying them up to make corn dogs, and they find the combination of flavor and texture to be amazing. He tells them to enjoy themselves since he can't always spoil them like this, and he realizes that they aren't even listening to him, but he's glad seeing them so happy. There's suddenly an earthquake on the surface, as Mukata appears from another exit, and all the other adventurers wonder where he came from, so Fel notes that they came from the lowest floor after clearing the dungeon. The adventurers can't believe it, wanting to know more, but Elrond excitedly comes running over, and he drags Mukata back to the guild. He mentions how he was worried about Drago, and Mukata takes out the jewelry box that he found since he wants to sell it, but seeing their reaction to it, he decides not to show them the sword. Elrond has an endless number of questions, but Ugur thinks they should let them rest since they must be tired. Mukata enjoys a coffee milk after a bath, and Fel finds it delicious, but Mukata notes that the milk goes best with a bath, suggesting that Fel should also take one, but he doesn't like the idea. He gets offended when Mukata tells him he smells, and Sui mentions how he likes seeing Fel when he's clean and fluffy. Drago also mentions how he feels better after taking a bath, and as they try to convince him, he suddenly mentions that he heard something, so Mukata thinks he's trying to change the subject, but we see that there are actually two kids running through the forest, and they are being chased by an orc. The girl trips over, and as the orc lunges at them, Mukata orders Sui and Drago to save them. He runs over to check on them, but they're terrified when they see Fel and they start crying. Mukata tells them not to worry, mentioning that Fel is just a big doggo, but Fel gets annoyed hearing this. The kids eventually calm down, and Mukata asks about them, so the boy introduces himself as Daryl, and his sister as Iris, explaining that they're from Dolan. Mukata is surprised they came out so far since Dolan is 3 hours away, asking them what they're doing there. Daryl asks for the orc in exchange for telling him, but Mukata isn't sure they can carry it, so Daryl reveals he has the item box skill, but it doesn't quite fit, and Mukata asks to hear their story first. Daryl tells him how they live with their mother in Dolan, and their father was an adventurer, but he never returned after he went to get milk from the dungeon. They managed to survive by working together, but their mother eventually got sick. Mukata wonders if she's okay, but Daryl notes even the priest from the temple wasn't able to heal her, so they need a higher-ranking priest from the royal capital. But they don't have the money to hire such a priest, so they took on herb-gathering quests to make money, which is how they ended up in the forest. Iris wonders if selling the orc will be worth enough to save their mother, but Mukata thinks about how common orcs are, so he doesn't think it will be enough. The stomachs of the kids suddenly growl, and Fel notes that he's also hungry, so Mukata decides to make them all something. As the kids play with Sui and Drago, Mukata decides to cook them something good. He browns his onions and fries up some rockbird, adding his teriyaki sauce. He cuts up bread, cooking up some eggs, and he combines it all to create a delicious burger. The kids find it amazing, thinking the different flavors go perfectly together, so Mukata tells them to eat as much as they want. Fel wonders about his portion, so Mukata takes out an enormous burger, confident that it will be able to satisfy him. He quickly starts devouring it, so they all enjoy the food, and afterwards, the kids thank Mukata for everything, but he's shocked since they called him uncle, and Fel asks him how it feels. The kids fall asleep thinking about their mother, and Mukata wants to help them. He thinks about using Sui's high-grade potions, but Fel notes that they wouldn't be effective for curing illnesses, mentioning elixirs instead, since they are said to be able to cure all diseases and even grant immortality. Mukata wonders if such a thing really exists, but he remembers Elrond talking about how the blood and liver of the earth dragon are ingredients in making elixirs, so he decides to give it a try, giving the materials to Sui and asking him to make a healing potion with them. Sui isn't sure, but he absorbs them and starts trying. Mukata thinks about making something for the mother to eat to help her recover in the meantime, and he decides to make something that's both nutritious and easy to eat for her, making a hearty vegetable and bacon stew. Sui finishes his potion, and when Mukata praises it, he's shocked when he finds that it can really cure all types of ailments. He wakes up the kids, telling them they should head back to Dolan, and they ride Fel all the way back. The kids enjoy the ride, and Mokata goes to give them the orc, so they think they will be able to hire the priest, but Mokata reveals his new potion, mentioning that it will be able to heal their mother, but he notes that as a merchant, he can't just give it to them for free, so Daryl wonders how much it will cost, but Mokata decides to trade it to them for the orc. He gives them the stew as a bonus, so they thank him for everything, and Daryl decides he wants to also become a merchant to be as cool as Mokata. After they say goodbye to the kids, Mokata thinks about how they all leveled up after clearing the dungeon. Fel has gone up 10 levels to 921, while Drago has reached level 160. He thinks Sui has the most potential to grow, and he's surprised to see he has gone up over 60 levels to 88, but when he checks his own stats, he can't believe that he didn't improve, but he suddenly realizes he has a +1 next to his online grocery skill, and as he taps on it, he gets the choice to upgrade his skill. Fel tells him to choose the burger option, but Sui likes the desserts, so Mokata picks the dessert option. Fel can't believe Mokata dismissed him so easily, but Mokata notes how Fel also likes to eat the desserts. His shop suddenly gains new dessert options, and they all get excited, so Mokata quickly buys some of everything. They're all amazed at how good it all looks, and they all dig in, finding it incredible. Sui continuously stuffs himself, and Mokata shows them a custard pudding, which he squeezes out onto a plate, and Drago thinks that it's wobbly like Sui. Mokata enjoys a cream cake, finding it incredibly fluffy, and he pairs it with a black coffee. Sui and Drago ask for more pudding, and he's glad that they both enjoyed it, but he gets a feeling that he's forgetting something, and Ninri suddenly yells at him to give them their offerings, saying that they also want to try the desserts. Meanwhile, the kids give their mother the potion, which instantly makes her feel better, and they also bring her the stew. Daryl knows that the potion that Mokata gave them was special, so he promises to keep it a secret, and also decides to work hard so that he can pay Mokata back. We see Elrond as he manages the other people processing monster materials, and he notes that since the dungeon has been cleared, the morale of the adventurers has been boosted, so they also need to do their best. Mokata is impressed seeing him work, but Ugor suddenly comes looking for him, telling him he has more important things to do, and he is dragged away. They talk to Mokata about the items he brought back, in particular the magic bag that he found, and when he opens it, he finds that it was actually filled with gems. He notes that he never even checked it, and Elrond mentions how it's quite rare to find a bag with items already inside it. He also notes that the gems were kept in pristine quality thanks to the bag, so they are worth a fortune. Elrond mentions how they are out of money after buying the Earth Dragon parts, so they suggest that he can trade the gems with the Merchants Guild. Mokata worries about getting ripped off since he isn't sure what the gems are worth, but Ugor offers to accompany him. Elrond volunteers to go instead since he's the guildmaster, but Ugor knows that he's just trying to get out of his work. He tells Elrond to behave himself while he goes out, threatening to sell Elrond's most prized item if he doesn't get his work done, so Elrond has no choice but to listen. Fel notes that he's hungry, so Mokata asks for a break before they head to the Merchants Guild, and Ugor tells him to meet back there in an hour. They look around for food since they don't have time to cook, and they find a man grilling meat, who is startled when he sees Fel. Mokata wonders how many skewers they each want, and he ends up ordering 100 of them. Fel enjoys the meat, but he notes that it's nothing compared to Mokata's cooking. He gives them all seconds, and when he tastes it himself, he finds the meat a little tough, but he enjoys the charcoal flavor, wondering how his other meats would taste if he cooked them in the same way. He thinks about wanting barbecue, but he notes that there is no grill for sale in his shop. After that, they head to the Merchants Guild with Ugor, and they're greeted by the Master Adriano. They're joined by an appraiser named Ruslan, and when he checks out the gems, he's immediately impressed by their quality, but he's even more shocked when he sees an Imperial Topaz, because it's a gem that was thought to just be a myth, that's said to bring about luck and good fortune. They end up offering Mokata over 7,000 gold for the gems that they want, and Mokata can't believe how much they were worth. He prepares to accept the deal, but Ugor stops him, noting that he has a bit of experience when it comes to looking at jewels, and he can tell that their offer is too low, so they quickly change their offer to over 10,000 gold, and Ugor finds it acceptable. After that, Mokata thanks Ugor for his help, and Elrond thinks he could have gotten even more money if he had been the one to go. He suddenly asks to see Mokata's guild card, and he quickly snatches it out of his hand, telling him he has been promoted to rank A, because they couldn't leave him at rank C after he cleared the dungeon. Ugor notes that he can now accept quests directly from the kingdom as an A ranker, but Mokata freaks out, thinking it's too soon for him, so Elrond mentions the perks of his new rank, telling him how he will get discounts and free meals at the guild restaurant, as well as having no restrictions on what quests he accepts. Fel is instantly interested in taking on the harder quests, so Mokata realizes he needs to accept it. After that, Drago wonders what they will be having for dinner, and we see that Mokata has a new mithril meat grinder after his old one broke, but it worked so well that he ended up grinding up too much meat, so he tells Drago they'll be having meatloaf. He mixes the meat with breadcrumbs and vegetables, adding his seasonings, and then kneading it all together. He covers the base of his tins with bacon, adding his mixture after that, and even adding quail eggs in the middle. After covering the top with the bacon, he puts it into the oven to cook, and once it's ready, he takes it out, and uses the leftover juices from the tins, combining it with red wine to make a sauce. He cuts up the meatloaf into pieces, finishing off with his sauce, and they're all amazed by how it looks. They all dig in, and Drago can't believe how juicy it is. Sui enjoys the egg in the middle, and Mokata is glad that they all like it. At night, Mokata thinks he should get Ugor a gift to thank him for his help, and knowing that he has a family, he decides to give them some sweets from his shop. Meanwhile, Ninri can't believe Mokata still hasn't given them their offering, wanting to try the ice cream that they had, and also his new sweets. Kisha notes how the quality of Mokata's items seems to have improved since he got the upgrade, so Vagan and Hephaestus wonder if it's also possible to improve the quality of the alcohol from his shop. The next day, we see Mokata thanking Ugor with his sweets, but he wonders why there's a picture of a girl, asking Mokata if it's someone important. He wonders if it's really okay for him to take the sweets, but Mokata tells him to enjoy them with his family. So we see Ugor taking it home, and his kids are instantly excited. He mentions how the girl on the suite is a princess, and his wife wonders if it's okay for them to have something so rare, but Ugor assures her that Mokata wanted them to have it, so she thinks he must be an amazing person. The kids want to eat the sweets right away, but Ugor's wife notes that it's already late, so his son thinks they should quickly go to bed so that tomorrow comes sooner, and Ugor is brought to tears thinking how good they are. We see Fel asking Mokata about lunch, but he notes that they just ate. He wishes that he could take a break from cooking, but the others tell him how much they like his food. He notes that it gets boring if all he does is cook all day, and he wants to try a barbecue since it would be easier for him. Fel approves of his idea, but he notes that he doesn't have the proper grill. He thinks about getting a blacksmith to make one for him, but he ends up being chased away, because they think he's looking down on them. He meets up with Ugor, who tells him that since they're in a dungeon city, the blacksmiths take pride in their weapons, and they don't like to make anything else. He mentions that the dwarves have short tempers, but he might have better luck if he offers them alcohol. After that, Mokata makes a simple wyvern bowl for lunch, which they all still enjoy, and he goes on to check his shop for alcohol. He thinks about what's popular, and picks up some whiskey, thinking it will help him get what he wants. Mokata goes to another blacksmith to make his order, and the dwarf asks him what kind of weapon he wants, but he shows him the plans for the grill instead. The blacksmith tells him to go home, but Mokata asks him if he likes alcohol, and he takes out his whiskey. He explains that it's rare, and as he opens it up, the blacksmith is instantly enchanted by the smell. He snatches it from Mokata and takes a drink, finding it the best alcohol he has ever tasted. Mokata is happy his plan is working, and he offers to give him another 5 bottles if he agrees to make his order. The blacksmith is tempted, and he asks for 10 bottles instead, so Mokata agrees. He wonders how long it will take to make, so the blacksmith tells him to come back in 3 days, introducing himself as Alec. As Mokata thinks about how even the gods like alcohol in this world, he suddenly realizes that he hasn't sent his offerings in a while. The gods finally get through to him, and they reprimand him for forgetting about them. He asks them to speak one at a time, so Ninri demands that he send her all the sweets from his upgraded shop. Hephaestus mentions that he gave Alec a blessing to enhance the grill he's making, so he wants Mokata to improve his alcohol selection the next time he can upgrade his shopping skill. They mention having examined him, and they tell him he will get his next upgrade at level 40, so they tell him to level up as soon as possible, thinking he should go to another dungeon, but Mokata thinks about how he's already happy with his level. Kisha wants him to upgrade his cosmetics instead, since she wants more beauty products, and Ruka also has a suggestion for what she wants. Mukata becomes tired of them, so he tells them that if they insist on forcing him to level up, he will just stop sending them offerings and give back all their blessings, so they all instantly take back what they said, telling him to level up at his own pace. They move on and mention how much money Mukata made from clearing the dungeon, so they also ask for him to double their offerings, and he agrees to increase their budget to 6 silver coins each. He asks them what they want, and Ninri goes first, asking for all of the new cakes, but he mentions that it's more than her budget. He shows her all the options, and she has a hard time picking, so Mukata tells her just to start from the top. The other gods also submit their requests, and we see Mukata sending them their offerings, but he's exhausted afterwards, since they're all so picky. After that, Mukata is hungry, so he starts cooking a giant rock bird. He rubs seasoning all over it, filling it with stuffing, and he seals it up with bamboo skewers. He puts it into his oven, and while it cooks, he asks Sui to make him some new plates and cups using his mithril ore, so he happily makes them. Everyone is amazed when the rock bird is ready, and as they start eating it, Fel finds it delicious, since the rice stuffing has soaked up the juices of the meat, and Mukata gives them all pudding for dessert. He thinks about what they should do next since they already conquered the dungeon, but he ends up falling asleep. We see the gods enjoying their offerings, and Vegan talks to Hephaestus about how Mukata doesn't want to level up, but they come up with an idea to secretly give him a blessing, so while he's sleeping, Vegan blesses him with a new double experience skill. Mukata goes to see Alec the next day, giving him the bottles of whiskey, and Alec shows him his new grill. Mukata thinks it looks amazing, and Alec mentions he adjusted the design so that it can hold more charcoal, so that the heat will be more stable. He tells Mukata to try it out outside, so he can make any changes that might be needed, and Fel likes the idea of eating right away. So they head outside, and Mukata starts grilling up some meat, and Alec even brings out some homemade sausages. Mukata cuts up the meat, and he's impressed by how well it turned out. Fel enjoys the juiciness and the charred flavor, and Mukata tells Alec to try out the wasabi soy sauce, which he finds surprisingly refreshing. Mukata tries out one of Alec's sausages, and he finds it incredibly juicy. Alec wants to have his whiskey with the meat, but Mukata suddenly takes the bottle from him. He puts ice in his mithril cup, adding the whiskey, soda water, and a squeeze of lemon. He gives it to Alec to try, calling it a highball, and Alec finds it even more amazing than before. He can't believe someone as laid back as Mukata was able to clear the dungeon, and Mukata wonders how he knows about that, so he notes that everyone's been talking about him. We see Mukata cleaning the grill, and he finds that water easily gets everything off, thinking Alec did an amazing job with it, but Hephaestus suddenly appears, and notes that it was all thanks to his blessing. Mukata tells the others that he thinks it's time to leave Dolan, and Fel wants to go into the dungeon one more time, but Mukata notes that the reason he wants to leave is because the rumors about him from the dungeon are spreading. Fel asks to do some hunting first, so Mukata decides to try to make Alex's sausage recipe while he waits, and he asks Sui to help him out. Fel and Drago prepare to head off, so Mukata gives them a magic bag to store the monsters, and he tells them not to go overboard. He goes on to start making the sausages with Sui, grinding up the meat, and then adding his seasonings to it. He fills up a bag with it, and starts piping the meat into the casing, making sure not to let in any air, and he twists them to form the shape. As he starts cooking them, he tries one himself, and he also lets Sui have some, but Fel and Drago suddenly return, and they can't believe they're eating without them. Mukata wonders how their hunt went, so Fel notes that they couldn't fit all the monsters in the bag, and Mukata realizes they ignored his warning to take it easy. He tells them to eat first, giving Fel a huge plate of the sausages, and they all find it delicious. After that, we see Elrond and Ugur seeing them off, and we learn that Mukata only gave them a day's notice, so Elrond cries since his time with Drago is over. He makes Mukata promise to come back if he needs to process any more dragons, and even asks him to hunt a Leviathan if he's headed to Bellerand. Mukata wonders if it's even possible, so Fel notes that he has hunted one in the past. Mukata tells Elrond not to get his hopes up, but he starts losing it as he imagines what it would be like to work with a Leviathan. After they leave, they enjoy themselves as they travel, eating different foods as they go, but they eventually reach the town of Hoff. The guards are on edge seeing Fel, but Mokata shows them his guild card, and they immediately let him in, since he's A-ranked. We learn that the town specializes in pottery and claywork, and Mokata meets with the guildmaster Goran, who notes that Elrond has told him about them, so he welcomes them to the town, but Fel doesn't seem to like him. Mokata decides to help out with any high-level requests that they have, so Goran mentions that there are 2 quests that they need help with. The first is exterminating the carnivorous plants that have been running rampant in the West Forest, and the second is to take out the Kylops that appeared at their clay mining site. Mokata wonders if they can handle the requests, so Fel and Drago tell him that it won't even be a challenge. Mokata also asks about renting a house while they're there, so Goran notes that it would be better to ask about that at the Merchants Guild, so he writes Mokata a letter of introduction. At the Merchants Guild, Mokata hands his letter to the clerk, and the Vice Guild Master Nico comes to greet him. Mokata explains he's trying to rent a bigger place so that Fel and the others can stay with him, so Nico shows him a few options, and Mokata ends up picking the one that has a nice kitchen and also a bath. We see them at the mansion, and Fel thinks it's not bad, but Mokata can't believe how big it is. As the others rest, Mokata checks out the kitchen, and he decides to make a curry for their dinner. He starts by cutting up an onion, letting it soften in the pot, and then adding in his meat and vegetables. He adds water and then his curry roux, and as it starts to come together, the others are drawn by the smell, and he explains that it's a popular dish from his own world. They all think that it looks amazing, and when they try it, they can't stop themselves from eating, immediately asking for seconds, and we see them all completely stuffed. Mokata checks out the bath next, and he's impressed that it's so fancy. He tells Fel that he also needs to take a bath, since he got dirty during dinner, so he reluctantly agrees. He lets Mokata scrub him down, actually enjoying himself, and after Sui washes him off, he dries himself with his wind magic, and heads off to bed first, while Mokata and the others enjoy their own bath. The next day, they head to deal with the carnivorous plants, and Mokata decides they should split up since the plants are all around. Fel wonders if he will be okay, but he notes that it will be fine since Sui will be with him. We see Mokata thinking about his new weapon, and they soon encounter one of the carnivorous plants. Sui shoots it down with his acid bullets, but there are more that appear. Mokata tries out his herbicide spray, and it's super effective against the plants. He's amazed that it worked, and together with Sui, they manage to take out all of the carnivorous plants, but there's a huge one that emerges, and it attacks with its vines. Mokata manages to stop it with his spray, and as it tries to bite him, he sprays it once again. He realizes its roots are its weakness, so he grabs a second spray, and he manages to finish it off. He collects the magic stones from the plants after that, and Fel reports that they finished off the rest of them, so Mokata realizes they have completed the quest. Sui wants to keep fighting, so they decide to take care of the Kylops as well, and we see them easily defeat it. Back at the house, Fel notices that Sui has evolved again, so Mokata checks his stats, and realizes that he's now classified as a huge slime, and he has a new giganticized skill. Mokata wonders how big he will be able to get, thinking they should try it out. He checks his own stats since he fought against the plants as well, and finds that he is now at level 30. But he sees the double experience skill, wondering where it came from, and he suddenly realizes that it must have been the gods who secretly gave it to him to make him level up faster, so he plans to give them a piece of his mind. We see Mokata wondering what will happen if Sui keeps evolving, so Fel notes that the final evolution for a slime is the Emperor Slime, and Mokata thinks that it sounds cool, but he's shocked when Fel mentions that it would even be a match for him, so they wonder how much more Sui will grow. They go out to an open field to test Sui's new skill, and he tells them to stand back since he's about to get big. Drago thinks he's over-exaggerating his size, but he suddenly grows to become enormous, which shocks them all. Fel notes that he's way bigger than the other huge slimes he's encountered in the past, and Mokata wonders if it's because of the plastic that he eats. Sui is happy they think he's special, but he shakes everything as he jumps around, so Mokata tells him to return to normal. They all think he's awesome, but he notes that he prefers to be small, since it means he can be with Mokata. Mokata thinks it's a good spot to have lunch, so he takes out ingredients that he already prepared, chopping up some fresh okra, and combining them together to make a 3-color rice bowl. Sui enjoys the egg, and Fel pretends he doesn't like it since it has vegetables, but he still asks for seconds. After that, Mokata goes to the butcher with Goran, and the butcher is excited to see a Kylops, telling them it will take him a day to process it, so he recommends Mokata look around the town while he has time, and he thinks about upgrading his plateware, since the town is known for its ceramics. Goran gives him suggestions on where to go, and we see him visiting a workshop that sells the newest products. He finds an automatic cooling cup, which is made with a magic stone powder, and he imagines how good it would be to drink a beer from it. He visits the Ida Trading Company next, which has some of the best quality products, but he's intimidated by how keen the owner is when he finds out that Mokata is an A-ranked adventurer. He ends up spending 168 gold on new plateware, but he thinks that it's worth it since they'll be able to enhance their dining experience. Fel suddenly mentions that he wanted to visit another dungeon, and Mokata reminds him about their plan to head to the sea, but Fel notes that he has changed his mind and would rather take on a dungeon instead, since he thinks he's getting out of shape. Mokata tries to convince him against it, but he asks Drago and Sui what they think, and they also want to go to a dungeon, so he has no choice but to agree. But he notes that it will take him time to prepare food for the dungeon, so they will do some quests at the guild first. The next day, Mokata goes back to the butcher, who mentions he has finished the processing, but the payment is on hold since there's a problem at the guild. Mokata wonders what happened, so the butcher notes that an orc settlement appeared in the forest, and there may even be an orc king. Goran asks Mokata for his help, since it would usually take 6 parties of C-rank adventurers to deal with it, but only one is currently available. Fel thinks it's a boring quest, but Mokata notes that they can use the chance to get more meat, so Fel ends up agreeing. Goran introduces them to the Shadow Warrior party, and the leader Alonzo is happy to work with an A-ranked adventurer. Mokata wonders where the orc settlement is, so Golan notes that it's a day's walk to the north. Mokata can't believe it's so far, but he comes up with an idea, and we see Sui in his gigantic form, as Mokata tells the adventurers to ride him. They can't believe how fast he is, but as they praise him, Sui gets excited and starts jumping, which makes it hard for them to hold on. They manage to reach their destination in no time, and Fel senses that there are around 200 orcs, but he notes that they will handle it, telling Mokata to deal with any orcs that try to run away, and Alonzo can't believe that they are there just to watch. As the fight begins, Drago lights up the orcs with a fireball, and Fel impales them with his earth magic. Sui splits himself to shoot his acid, collapsing a tree onto them, while Alonzo and the others can't believe what they're watching, since the fight is completely one-sided. An orc gets sent flying toward them, but it cuts its arm against Mokata's sword, and he manages to finish it off, but another one suddenly hits him. He shoots his stone bullet to distract it, and when he gets the chance, he manages to get around it and cut it from behind. Alonzo and the others also finish handling some orcs, so they decide to regroup with Fel, but they can't believe that the settlement is already completely destroyed. Fel is annoyed since it was barely a warm-up for him, so Mokata quickly tells them that it's time to eat. He makes them all burgers, and Alonzo thinks it looks strange, but he instantly finds it delicious, and they all think it was worth taking the quest just for this meal. Back in the town, Goran can't believe they finished the quest so quickly, and Alonzo feels bad about taking part of the reward since they barely did anything, but Mokata tells them not to worry about it, and they hope to meet him again. Back at their house, Mokata notes that it's their last day staying there, so he decides to make the most of the kitchen. Sui wonders why he has so much salt, so he explains that he's planning a salt bake. He starts by rubbing garlic into his meat and covering it with lettuce. He then splits the egg whites from the yolk and adds the salt to it, mixing it until it becomes malleable. After that, he covers the meat completely with the salt and explains that it will trap the umami of the meat inside. He bakes it in his oven, and after it's ready, he also mixes the egg yolks with mustard to create a sauce. He calls Fel and Drago for dinner, and they aren't impressed by how it looks, but when he cracks it open and reveals the meat inside, they instantly change their minds. Drago can't believe how tender it is, and Fel finds the saltiness to be perfect, so they end up completely devouring it, and Mokata treats them to dessert since they did so well against the orcs. The next day, Goran pays Mokata for the Kylops, thanking him for all his help, and they set off to continue their way to Bellerand. We see them as they reach the sea, and Mokata gets excited, but Fel wonders why it's so special, so Mokata notes that he has a number of fond memories around it. They reach the town of Bellerand, and Mokata easily gets in with his adventurer card, but he soon wonders why it seems so empty. A man notes that it's because a kraken appeared 3 days ago, so they can't even go fishing, but this only gets Fel excited. They meet with the guildmaster Marks, who offers them the job, and Fel instantly takes it since he wants to eat the kraken. They rent an even bigger house to stay at, and Mokata finds the view amazing. Drago and Sui go to explore the house, so Mokata thinks about making dinner. He decides to make curry again, since they all loved it the last time, but he uses minotaur meat from the dungeon. He combines it with onions and mushrooms, and when he's finished, the others find it amazing, even though it has a different flavor than the last time. Mokata also finds it delicious, and they end up destroying the entire pot. Mokata can't believe how much they ate, but Sui suddenly wants cake for dessert, and the others are also ready for round 2. Mokata thinks about how they'll be working hard to fight the kraken the next day, so he decides to give them their favorite desserts. They go to the harbor the next day, but Mokata wonders how they can get to the kraken, since it's out at sea. He wonders how Fel defeated one in the past, so he mentions how he was up on a cliff, and used his lightning magic to take it out. He admits he isn't sure how they can get to the kraken this time, and Mokata can't believe he's so confidently accepted the quest without considering this. He thinks they will need a boat, so they ask the fishermen for help, but they're all too scared to go out. Mokata and Fel become depressed, but they see Sui catching a fish, and Mokata realizes he can float, so they ride him in his giant form. They go out into the middle of the ocean, and Fel can sense that the kraken is up ahead. It suddenly emerges from the water, but it appears to be fighting against a sea serpent. It blasts the serpent with its ink, but Fel and Drago combine their magic, and they take them both out in a single hit. As the bodies float to the surface, Sui is disappointed he didn't get to fight, but Mokata tells him he already helped out the most. They start collecting the kraken and the serpent, but Fel suddenly senses something, and an even bigger fish suddenly appears. Mokata is terrified, and thinks they need to get away, but Sui refuses to let it take their kraken, and he takes it out with a single punch. Mokata tells Sui he was amazing, and as he appraises the fish, he sees that it was an S-rank monster called the Aspidocalone. He finds the name hard to pronounce, but he sees that it's edible, so he decides to take it back. When they return to the guild, Marks can't believe that they are already back, since it's only been a day. He learns about what happened, and he thinks that Mokata is on a completely different level, since they defeated all 3 of the monsters. They go out to the processing area, and everyone is shocked to see how big the kraken is, but Marks tells them that they still need to work on the sea serpent and the Aspidocalone as well. He tells them they need to work quickly, since preserving the freshness is the key for seafood, and he wonders if Mokata really plans on eating it. We learn that they made a deal, where they would share the meat if they worked on the serpent and the fish as well, so Mokata gets them all hyped up. We see Fel and the others taking a break, while the fishermen get to work, skinning, and cutting up all of the monsters. The meat is eventually prepared, and Marks wonders what they should do next, so Mokata buys a bunch of sauce from his shop, pouring it into barrels, and he gets the men to help him marinate the meat. Mokata throws a fireball to cook the kraken, but Fel thinks his fire is too weak, so he uses his wind magic to fan the flames, which impresses everyone, and it ends up perfectly cooked. Marks brings out a ton of alcohol to celebrate the occasion, and Mokata tops the dish off with his mayonnaise. Fel and the others instantly dig in, and Mokata tells the others to help themselves. Marks is hesitant at first, but when he tastes it, he's blown away, and they think that it's amazing. Mokata thinks it goes perfectly with the beer, and the fishermen all thank him for saving their town. We see Fel and the others completely stuffed after the meal, but the fishermen are excited to be able to go fishing again, and Marks tells Mokata to look forward to checking out the fish market in the morning. Meanwhile, we see Lars as he accepts an escort request from Lambert, and they all think about their previous job together, wondering how Mokata is doing. Lambert mentions that Mokata ordered a number of items from him before he left, so they hope that he comes back soon, since they want the chance to eat his cooking again. We see Fel as he wakes Mokata up in the morning, and he wonders what's going on, so Fel reminds him that he wanted him to wake him up for the market. They find things completely different from before when they get to the market, with it filled with people selling their fish, and Fel suddenly smells something delicious. A woman mentions that the food stalls are up ahead, so they go to check them out, and Fel is excited by all the different food. One of the shopkeepers recognizes Mokata as the one who saved their town, so he gives him a special deal on the food. Drago enjoys how fresh it is, and Fel thinks it's acceptable, but he wishes there was more, so Mokata reminds him that there are still other stalls to check out. They try a clam soup next, and the woman tells them that the clams are also delicious when they're grilled, so Mokata decides to buy a crate of them. He also sees that she has oysters, so he imagines eating them raw with a squeeze of lemon, but the woman warns him against it, because his insides could be torn apart by fish worms, and she tells him to cook everything thoroughly before he eats it. They move on to check out the other stalls, but they end up receiving all kinds of different fish as thanks from everyone. Fel and the others take a nap back at the house, and Mokata wonders what to make with all the seafood. Fel gets up as he realizes Mokata is cooking, but he isn't impressed when he sees Mokata chopping up vegetables. Mokata orders flour and noodles from his shop, and Fel can't believe there still isn't any meat, but Mokata tells him to let him cook. He creates a batter using the flour, combining it with the lettuce, and then putting the noodles on top. He then adds shrimp and calamari as the final ingredients, and he flips it once it browns. Drago wonders if it's ready, so Mokata finishes it off with his sauce, and Sui can't believe how good it smells. Sui and Drago both enjoy it, but Fel wonders why he didn't get any, so Mokata mentions that he's making him a different one with the oysters. Sui and Drago want to try flipping it, but they end up using too much power, and it breaks apart in the air, so Fel becomes devastated, but Mokata tells him not to worry, and he easily fixes it. Fel finally gets to eat, and he finds that the lettuce balances out the umami of the oysters quite well, so the others also want to try it. After the meal, Fel and the others decide to go and work off the food, and Mokata gives them his magic bag so they can bring back any monsters. After they run off, Marks visits the house, and he delivers a message from the Merchants Guild. It turns out to be a message from Lambert, and he mentions that the shampoo product has been incredibly popular, and even though they limit how much each person can buy, they are already running low, so he wonders when he will be back. Mokata thinks about going back to also pick up his new cape, but he hears Marks sighing, so he wonders if he has a problem, but he decides to keep it to himself and ends up heading back. Mokata wonders if another Kraken appeared, but he isn't sure why Marks wouldn't just tell him about it. Meanwhile, we see Fel and the others in the forest, feeling full of energy thanks to the meal, and they suddenly see a dragon, which gets them excited. As Mokata wonders what he should do, Fel and the others return. He can see that they're excited, so he asks them how their hunt went, and Fel smugly tells him to see for himself. Mokata is completely shocked when he sees that they brought back a dragon, and he wonders what they are even going to do with it. He can't believe how big it is, but Fel mentions that it was a younger and smaller one, so he thinks its meat will be more tender. The others remember how good the earth dragon tasted, so they want to eat this one as well, but Mokata knows that they will need to go back to Elrond to get it processed. He thinks about what to do since he also needs to go back to Lambert, but he decides to take a break and cool off. He gets Sui to help him with his mixer to make shaved ice, but Fel doesn't understand what the point of it is. Mokata gives a bowl topped with condensed milk for Sui to try, and he finds it sweet like ice cream. Drago also decides to try it, but he eats too quickly and gets a brain freeze. Mokata gives Fel a bowl to try as well, and although he's hesitant at first, he quickly finds that it tastes just like the strawberry shortcakes that he enjoys, but he also gets a brain freeze. After their snack, they head over to the guild, where everyone seems to be worried, so Mokata asks Marks about what's going on, so he comes clean and reveals that they received a report that something terrifying appeared in the area. Mokata asks to talk to him in private, and he guesses that Marks was talking about the dragon, and Marks can't believe that they already defeated it. Fel mentions how they took it down easily, and Marks thinks Mokata should be promoted to S rank, but he instantly tries to refuse, mentioning that he only showed Marks the dragon so he could stop worrying about it, and he prefers to keep a low profile, but Marks tells him that everyone should know about it, because it's his duty as an adventurer, so Mokata has no choice but to accept it. After that, we see Mokata preparing his offerings, and the gods each tell Mokata what they want, but Ruka mentions wanting to eat his seafood pancake, and they all remember how good it looked, so they all decide to get that as well. Mokata thinks it would be too much work to cook for all of them, so he suggests that he just send them the ingredients so they can make it themselves, but they tell him they want to eat his cooking, so he has no choice but to make it for them, and he sends them their offerings. He's exhausted after that, and he worries about where they should go next, but he realizes that it doesn't matter, since Fel and the others are by his side, and they set off on their next adventure. But that's where this video ends. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.